Important update about YouTube playlists. Hey everyone. We've received many messages asking why our YouTube playlists aren't showing up. Do we create YouTube playlists? Yes, we absolutely do. So why can't you see them? Honestly, we're not sure. We've been in contact with YouTube support for several months now, but we still haven't received a clear answer or solution. After much discussion, our team has decided to take matters into our own hands. We believe the issue might be related to the number of playlists we've created on a single channel, possibly too many. Our solution? We're launching 2 additional YouTube channels, giving us a total of 3. This way, we can organize our audiobooks better and avoid the playlist visibility issue in the future. This change only affects our YouTube audience. If you're a patron supporter, you can still access all our audiobooks by visiting the collection menu on Patreon. Thanks so much for your time and continued support. Happy listening, planning meetups, and trash talking Sagra Sosuke. And yes, Sagra was in the group too. It's from George. What did he say? They all tapped the message. It was a photo and a short text. Visited the young master today. He personally made lunch for me. Attached was a picture of the 2 of them at the dining table. Fudex, and all of them silently tossed their phones to the ground. Ranji, in about a week you'll need to come back to school. Don't forget to turn in your written reflection. If I don't write it, does that mean I don't have to go back? If you dare not write it, then you better show up at school tomorrow. At home, Takuman Rinji was gaming while chatting with Sagra on the phone. Anyway, the school has already uncovered the truth about Koujino's crimes. But to avoid hurting Oetomo's reputation, they're keeping it quiet. You just need to reflect on the fighting incident. Kaya explained. Also, I heard Ojino suddenly vanished. You didn't do something weird again, like sending him to some lab as a test subject? How could I? Do I look like a demon? You are a demon. I didn't send him to a lab. Takuman Renji said, grinning. On the contrary, I admired how cooperative he was, so I pulled some strings to debut him as an idol. You might hear his album someday. You're that generous? Of course. Nothing else for now. Make sure you review properly. If you fail too many midterms, it could affect your promotion. Got it. That's it then. Beep. The call ended. Takuman Renji listened to Kaya since she counted as a senior to him. He put down the phone and went back to his game. Review? He had no idea what that was. By the way, Renji, you're going back to school in a week, said Ishigami, who was gaming next to him. Yeah, you should go too. Staying home playing games all day will rot your brain. You're one to talk. You game all day too. Totally different. I was suspended. Officially gaming with reason. You're just skipping class. Takuman Renji looked at him. Also, get a haircut. You've been here almost a month, and your bangs are long enough to hide an eye. Ishigami's messy black hair was now long enough to cover half his face. You're one to talk. Your hair's long too. I don't mind mine, but if you don't cut yours. What? Hey, don't turn away. What'll happen if I don't get it cut? Takuman Renji looked confused as Ishigami awkwardly averted his gaze. You look kind of like a high school JK. Don't be ridiculous. He took it as a joke, but truthfully, the hair brushing his ears was a bit irritating. He instinctively brushed his bangs back. Ishigami, seeing this, quickly turned his head away again. TCH. You're acting weird lately. Is my hairstyle that bad? No, not that. Just wait till you're back in class. I'm sure you'll want to get it cut then. Whatever. Takuman Renji ignored him and kept mashing buttons on the controller. By the way, did you review at all? Midterms are coming, and I heard if you get too many red marks, like 20 points below average, you might not even graduate. Shuchin doesn't offer retakes. Takuman Renji didn't care about graduation. But Ishigami was different. Haven't studied at all. Not like it would help. Nice, a real man. I didn't study either. Of course. They'd spent nearly the whole month gaming. No chance they'd reviewed anything. They were both fully prepared to flunk. Chapter 48, I eat, sleep, and game every day. As days passed, the suspension finally ended. The next morning, Sagra Kaya knocked on Takuman Renji's door. Still asleep, he quickly got up and dressed. Morning, Aunt Kaya. Try not to get into fights at school anymore. Though I know that's impossible. Don't say that. That situation was special. Renji smiled. I've already submitted my reflection to the disciplinary office. Since it was Koujino's fault to begin with, the school won't pursue your case further. Honestly, if they did, the school might have been the one in trouble. She sighed. She knew Renji's true identity. Probably only she in all Japan could control him, which made it her responsibility. Thankfully, Renji usually listened to her. If she intervened, Problems wouldn't get out of hand. The only issue was that she taught second years, while Renji was a first year. They barely crossed paths in school. If something happened, it'd be hard to respond in time. Anyway, just try to behave a bit. Understood? And also, Seigoro glanced at his face. And his shoulder-length golden hair. Isn't it time for a haircut? I thought so too. I'll go after school. Who's that girl? She's so pretty. Why is she wearing a boy's uniform? What a beautiful boy. As soon as Takeman Renji walked onto campus, chatter buzzed around him. The words made veins pop on his forehead. He regretted it. Regretted not listening to Ishigami and cutting his hair that same day. He should have shaved it bald. Grim-faced, he entered his classroom for the first time in a month. At first, his long hair made him unrecognizable. But once people saw his face, silence fell instantly. Sure, Ojino had started it, but Renji had broken his bones. The whole class was still scared of him. Renji didn't care. He hung his bag on the side of his desk and got ready for class. Yo, Renji, you're here. Ishigami. Renji turned to the greeting. Sure enough, Ishigami still hadn't cut his hair. One eye was fully covered. How'd the classmates react? Worse than I thought. I just didn't get a haircut, and suddenly everyone's misgendering me. Do they think anyone with long hair is a girl? I don't know, but as long as someone has long hair and looks pretty, they all think it's a girl. TSK. Utterly ridiculous. Just as Takeman Renji and Ishigami were chatting, a soft female voice came from behind them. Takeman-kun. Takeman turned his head and saw Macho and Asaragi Kobachi approaching, both with complicated expressions. Since you've come back to class, there's something you need to know. You're now not part of the Public Morals Committee anymore, right? Yeah. Ino nodded. Of course. A public morals officer who initiates a fight can't possibly keep their position. No student would accept that. Though Ino had tried pleading with the committee chair, a fight was a fight. Ino-san, the school's public morals will rely on you from now on. Of course. Ino said seriously, I'll definitely set things right at this school. Although he was dismissed from the Public Morals Committee, the Student Council didn't strip Takeman of his role. He was still the treasurer. President, I'm back. Welcome back. Say, treasurer, what happened to your hair? Staring at Takeman, whose new hairstyle gave off a androgynous beauty, Miyuki Shirogane was clearly stunned. Don't ask. Do you have any scissors? I want to do a quick trim. Eh? That would be such a waste. Just as Shirogane opened a drawer to look for scissors, Fujiwara Chika suddenly jumped in, casually walking up to Takeman and rubbing his hair. This length is perfect. It really brings out Takeman-kun's beauty. Fujiwara said with a grin. A beautiful boy. I never realized Takeman-kun had such a wonderful trait. Stop talking nonsense. Takeman slapped Fujiwara's hand away, clearly annoyed. Is Takeman-kun really going to change this hairstyle? Said Shinomiya Kaguya from the couch, sipping tea with a smile. It really suits you. Coming from you, it somehow makes me even more irritated. Takeman sat down nearby and asked Shirogane, who was working at his desk, President, does the student council have any events lately? No, nothing right now. I plan to pause all student council activities for the next 3 days. Shirogane replied. Huh? Why? Because the midterms are in 3 days. I don't want anyone's studies affected by student council duties. Shirogane said solemnly. Impressive. Takeman praised. So thoughtful toward your fellow members. Naturally. But this was a lie. Miyuki Shirogane was only thinking about himself. Suspending council duties was a way to clear time for his own review sessions. As the top student in the second year without any powerful background, grades were all he had. He absolutely could not afford to lose that number 1 spot. Still, as long as you normally study, exams shouldn't be a problem. Takeman smiled. I think so too. Shirogane agreed. So don't try any last-minute cramming. I stopped reviewing a week ago. This break is for your benefit. Another lie. This man had been staying up late for the past 2 weeks, cramming hard, and now even stopped council work to buy more time. Speaking of which, Takeman, did you study during your suspension? Don't get a red mark. Oh, I didn't review at all. I spent every day playing the forest with Ishigami. That was the truth. From his suspension until now, Takeman hadn't even taken his textbooks out of his bag. His days were literally just eating, sleeping, and gaming. Chapter 49, Whoever studies is gay. Whether it was just his imagination or not, Takeman could always sense a strong atmosphere of rivalry in the student council office. And that aura came from Kaguya Shinomiya and Miyuki Shirogane. It was like their competitive energy was clashing midair. Fujiwara Chika didn't seem to be involved at all, her cheerful face showing zero concern about the upcoming midterms. Takuman, are you sure you're not studying? If your scores are too low, you might not get promoted to second year. Shirogane said, slightly concerned. If Takuman were in the same year, Shirogane would have wanted him to fail to secure his own top spot. But Takuman was a first year, so their rankings didn't overlap. At this stage, Shirogane was genuinely worried about his advancement. It's fine. Takuman waved him off. Just skim through things 3 days before the exam. You sure? Of course. Then Takuman's eyes sharpened slightly. Actually, there's something about me you guys don't know. Something we don't know. What is it? The three members leaned in, especially Kaguya. She had long wanted to uncover the background of this guy she couldn't find any info on. The truth is, you are a genius, Takuman declared. A genius? Shirogane and Kaguya were baffled. Ha 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 ha. Fujiwara burst out laughing, walking over and patting Takuman's shoulder repeatedly. Who calls themselves a genius? Ha ha ha. You're too cute, Takuman-kun. Shut up. Takuman swatted her hand away again, speaking seriously, you don't understand. Even I'm scared of my own talent. Ha 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 ha. Fujiwara-san, are you laughing because you don't believe me? Actually. Fujiwara suddenly changed her expression, speaking solemnly. I'm a genius too. Huh? Takuman eyed Fujiwara carefully. Cute face, pink hair, and that inexplicable black bow. Paired with her usual scatterbrained behavior, it was hard to believe she was a genius. Fujiwara-san is really talented. Kaguya smiled. She won a national gold medal in piano back in middle school. Kaguya is amazing too. She holds ranks in tea ceremony, flower arrangement, martial arts, and archery. And Takuman-kun? Do you have any proof you're a genius? Watching Kaguya and Fujiwara flatter each other, Takuman realized he didn't have any honors worth showing. But then he remembered something. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a silver pocket watch on a chain. I earned this when I was 11. Oh, what a refined pocket watch. What award is it? Forget it. You wouldn't get it. Takuman sighed and put it away. Not worth explaining. One thing though, Takuman-kun. Kaguya smiled elegantly. As a student council member, you shouldn't bomb the midterms. At least match Fujiwara's level. Fujiwara. Takuman glanced over at Chika. To be honest, her expression didn't scream studious. What's her rank? She's currently ranked 96th in her year. Kaguya said. President is first. I'm second. Oh, so you're always just behind him, huh? Kaguya's brow twitched slightly, though her face maintained its graceful smile. Well, exams can be unpredictable. No one always wins. Then have you ever beaten him? Well. So never, huh? Sounds more like a consistent loser than an underdog. Kaguya's brow twitched again. Talking to this guy was infuriating. I don't really care about ranks. As long as I perform to my real level, that's fine. She said with a composed smile. Another lie. While she wasn't obsessed with winning, losing to Shirogane time and again gnawed at her pride. She'd been burning the midnight oil for the past half-month just to one day surpass him. That sounds like what someone would say to comfort themselves after failing. This guy seriously knew how to get under people's skin. Kaguya decided to go on the offensive. Takuman-kun, perhaps you should worry about yourself. Having a failing treasurer would really damage the student council's reputation. She smiled coldly, staring Takuman down. Or is it that you've actually been studying every night during your suspension, pretending to be a slacker just to mislead us? That kind of thing did happen. People who acted lazy on the outside while secretly grinding hard behind the scenes. It was a sneaky tactic. What, Shinomiya-san, are you looking down on me? Takuman narrowed his eyes. Of course not. If a fellow council member does well, I'd be genuinely happy. Another lie. She wanted this bastard who raised her blood pressure to fail more than anyone. So you're saying I'm secretly studying? What about you? Have you been secretly studying? Of course not. Dare to make a cursed vow? Huh? Takuman Rinchi raised his hand and said, if I secretly reviewed during this 1-month suspension, may I never get a girlfriend in my life. Huh? Your turn, Shinomiya-san. Takuman looked at the dumbfounded Shinomiya Kaguya. Why don't you vow, if I secretly studied in the past 2 weeks, may I never get a boyfriend in my life? Damn, pulling that move? You really are something, Takuman Rinchi. It was a vicious move, cornering someone completely. Of course, Takuman didn't actually know whether Shinomiya Kaguya had secretly reviewed or not. He was just instinctively counterattacking, but it pushed her to the edge. Chapter 50, Secretary Fujiwara's triple kill. Can you swear it? If you started reviewing 2 weeks ago, may you never get a boyfriend? Takuman thought it was a light oath. Judging from Shinamiya's usual disinterest in romance and men, he figured it was just a harmless counter. But Kaguya actually hesitated. Usually, such oaths are superstition, empty threats, and people who don't believe in them make them without worry. Kaguya knew this, yet in this moment, she hesitated. She stole a glance at Shirogane Miyuki at his desk. Right now, she couldn't make that vow. Cold sweat ran down her face as she racked her brain for a way out. This was harder than her daily mind games with Shirogane. Normally, their strategies led to mutual near confessions, but Takuman's strike was a kill shot. If I don't vow, it's like admitting I secretly studied. Then the rumors will be that I deceived my classmates to maintain a fake image. My dignity would be gone. But if I do vow... She glanced at Shirogane again. There's no way I could vow something like that. Whenever something involved him, she lost all calm. Takuman watched her sweat silently, suspicion rising in his eyes. Is she actually worried about not getting a boyfriend? That can't be. She treats all the boys at school like bugs. Right? But if she's hesitating... Did she really review secretly? Lady Shinamiya. Huh? You didn't really study at home, did you? What nonsense are you spouting? Kaguya shouted, almost dropping her teacup. How absurd. Why would I ever do such a thing? If you didn't, then why is swearing so hard? Of course it's hard. It's not that hard, really. It's just meaningless, that's all. Yeah, it is meaningless. Then she stood up. This kind of bet that relies on someone else's misfortune is just too twisted. Takuman-kun, that's so dark of you. Fujiwara Chika puffed up with anger. And it's not even interesting. Let's change the stakes. She hadn't even heard what they were betting on, but if it involved romance, she was always in the mix. Kaguya, thank goodness. As expected of Fujiwara. Takuman, tch, this woman again. He crossed his legs and asked, then what do you want to bet on, Secretary Fujiwara? Let me think. Fujiwara tapped her chin, then suddenly smiled. How about this? Whoever loses has to confess to their crush. Kaguya and Takuman, is this woman the devil? Fujiwara. Confessing is way too extreme. Kaguya said, sweating. Besides, what if someone doesn't have a crush? Oh. For once, I agree with you, Shinamiya-san. Takuman said, averting his gaze and trying to act cool. It's against school regulations. High school romance is a serious issue. Nonsense. If you like someone, you should be brave and express it. What's wrong with that? Kaguya and Takuman, wrong on every level. Takuman wasn't really afraid. He hadn't reviewed anyway. But the word confess was a trauma trigger, making him forget he had a guaranteed win. It's like standing before a high-stakes gamble, even if you're sure to win, fear creeps in. Then Shirogane suddenly brightened and gave Fujiwara a discreet thumbs up. Pretending to be calm, he said, I think this proposal is pretty good. But in his heart, Kaguya definitely reviewed. If this works and she confesses, I win. Really, President? Fujiwara beamed with joy. Of course, it's a great idea. Then you should join too. Shirogane's smile froze. Actually, everyone in the student council, except Fujiwara, had their expressions stiffen. These three were all confession phobes. Swearing didn't even matter anymore. Just deny it, and if needed, lie later. But in that moment, all three of them lost their composure. Takuman was the first to calm down. Thinking it through. He hadn't reviewed at all during the break. There was no way he'd lose. Vow? No problem. I'm fine with it. I'll swear. Takuman raised his hand. Don't be rash. Takuman. Maybe think about it a bit? Kaguya and Shirogane panicked. If he played along, they'd be dragged in too. Then Fujiwara suddenly grabbed Takuman's shoulder. Huh? What now? I'm so sorry, Takuman-kun. She said, eyes tearing up. What? I forgot you've confessed and been rejected before. If you haven't gotten over that girl, this would mean confessing to her again. That's basically suicide. Stab. Her words pierced Takuman's chest. I didn't think this through. I'm sorry for reopening your wounds. Stab. 2 strikes to the chest. Takuman looked gloomy as he slowly walked toward the door. President, I want to go die for a bit. Excuse me. Oh, please don't actually die. Once he left, the bet dissolved on its own. And Takuman swore never to visit the student council while Fujiwara was there again. Chapter 51, Ask Yourself. What kind of person are you? 3 days before the exams, Takuman's daily life hadn't changed. Morning classes, student council visits at lunch, afternoon classes, fake astronomy club activities, and games after school. Ishigami came over regularly too, bringing the latest games to play together. Both of them knew full well neither was studying. Ishigami, how many first years are there again? Exactly 200. I see. So to stay in the student council, I need to beat Fujiwara. At least not do worse than her. Takuman calculated, to rank at least 96th in a group of 200. If I just score better than half the class, I should make it. I want to encourage you, but Takuman, do you even know how competitive Shuchin is? Scoring above average is actually pretty hard. No problem. I have a foolproof strategy. Oh? As he pressed buttons on his controller, Takuman smiled faintly. Lace the bendos of 104 students with laxatives. I never expected you to come up with a good plan, but let's not go there. Ishigami was already used to Takuman's nonsense and could now deadpan his retorts. You haven't studied at all these past few days. Every day after school, you're playing games with me. Yeah, I finally got used to this peaceful life. If I had to study every day, I might as well go back to the old place. Ishigami didn't know where the old place was and didn't ask. He figured Takuman's grades would end up about the same as his. Maybe they'd even bond as fellow underachievers. And so, exam day arrived. Shuchin Academy took academics seriously, holding 5 standardized mixed subject exams each year. After each one, results were posted on a public board inside the school. The results came out quickly after the test. A crowd gathered around the notice board. Cheers from those who rose in rank, sighs from those who fell, and indifference from the rest. Like Ishigami. He saw his rank. 198th. And just chuckled before scanning the board for Takuman's name. Takuman stood nearby, nodded upon seeing his rank, and turned to leave. Wait a second. Before he could take more than 2 steps, Ishigami suddenly grabbed his shoulder. What is it? Renji, have you ever heard of a certain kind of person? Ishigami's bangs were long, and when he lowered his head, no one could tell what kind of expression was hidden beneath that hair. What kind? The kind of person who always plays with you and says, we're all not going to study, but secretly grams behind your back. That kind of person is honestly just too much. Really underhanded. Takuman Renji said seriously. They're basically scum and deserve to be harshly condemned and criticized. So you think the same, huh? Of course I do. Then take a good look at your name in 5th place on the grade rankings and ask yourself if you're one of them. Ishigami pointed at the top of the long ranking list. Takuman Renji's name sat in 5th place. The number 1 spot belonged to Macho, who had held it since the start of high school. And 5th was him. Obviously not. Really? Of course. I play games with you every day. You know that. Then how do you explain your scores? I owe it to my genius brain. Do I go around telling people I'm a genius? Would I proclaim to others that I'm actually a genius? Even if I knew I was a genius, would I brag about it everywhere? You said genius 3 times in one sentence. That's not weird. Think about it. I used to study in America, so it's only natural my English is good. Said Takuman Renji. That's fair, I guess. Ishigami recalled Takuman's status as an American-born Chinese. It made sense that his English would be strong. I'm also naturally good at the sciences. Math and the integrated science subjects are basically full marks. Then what about Japanese, world history, and classical literature? Let's leave the first 2 aside. I distinctly remember you being bad at classical lit. Ah, now you're getting to the point. Takuman Renji smiled faintly. Japanese, world history, and classical literature are my weak spots. But if I just skim a bit before bed, scoring a pass isn't hard. How long is a bit? 3 days before the exam, I glanced at them. Altogether, less than 4 hours. He said. You know I didn't attend class for a whole month. I basically self-studied. Didn't even revise properly. Told you. I'm a genius. Takuman spread his hands. If I actually tried studying, there's no way that school police girl would be in 1st place. It'd be me, Takuman Renji. I'm not gonna pretend I didn't hear that. Takuman turned his head and found Macho walking past with Asaragi Kobachi close behind her. Macho looked at him, her gaze unusually serious. If you want to reach 1st place, you can't do it with a half-hearted attitude. Huh. I won't give up the top spot that easily. After saying those imposing words, the petite Macho, barely reaching his shoulder, strode right past him. Asaragi quietly added, please don't take it personally. For Macho, maintaining the top rank is vital for her authority. So anyone aiming for it is seen as a rival. Not gonna be easy, huh? Indeed. I hope you understand. As he watched the 2 girls leave, Takuman Renji clapped his hands and said, looks like it's time I put in a little effort and increased my authority at this school. Ishigami, Oh? You're finally going to study? Takuman, no. I've decided today. I'll start tomorrow. Ishigami. I don't think you'll start at all this semester. Chapter 52, You Have No Hope President, I've placed this month's financial report here. Oh, thanks. Takuman Renji placed a USB drive on Miyuki Shiragane's desk. As the student council treasurer, monthly accounting was his main duty. One he'd always completed on time. Renji-kun. Before he could leave, Chika Fujiwara popped out of nowhere with a mischievous grin. What do you want? The moment he saw her, Takuman stepped back almost 5 meters. He really wanted to avoid this woman who always hit him where it hurt. How do you do on the midterms? Chika asked with a grin. How I did has nothing to do with you. Oh, I was just asking. She patted her chest proudly. This time I jumped from 96th place to 91st. Secretary Fujiwara, are you trying to avoid comparing yourself to Shiragane and Shinomiya and came to me to boost your confidence? Aha. No way. She totally was. In the student council, aside from her, there was only Shiragane, Kaguya Shinomiya, and Takuman Renji. The first two were top 1 and top 2 of their grade. No way she could compare. That left Takuman, who'd skipped a month and didn't even like studying. Hee, tell me, Renji-kun. I won't laugh. Your face says otherwise. Just then, Shiragane plugged in the USB and smiled. Renji, I heard you ranked 5th in the grade this time. Impressive. Chika. Oh? The president even checked my scores? Takuman grinned. Actually, I checked yours too. Of course you're still number 1. Ha ha ha, it always feels like a weight's lifted when exams go well. Shiragane beamed. That makes 3 of us in the top 5. You can't say it like that, President. Takuman glanced at Chika, who was frozen in place. It's more accurate to say one of us dropped out of the top 5. Chika, QVQ, what were you going to ask me again, Secretary Fujiwara? Takuman asked innocently. You said you wouldn't laugh. Chika blushed. What were you going to laugh at, huh? Say it. Wah. Don't look at me like that. It's my fault. I said something weird. Overwhelmed by shame and Takuman's smug expression, Chika covered her face and ran out of the office. Nice. That dangerous woman finally left. Takuman, who'd long been oppressed by Fujiwara, finally scored one back. Kaguya Shinomiya had been quietly sipping her hot coffee on the sofa. She turned with a smile and said, Takuman-kun, don't get cocky just because you ranked 5th once. Yeah, you're right. Oh? Kaguya was surprised. He often argued with her. But today, he didn't. Yes, you should be humble. Learn from the president and... I'll learn from the president. What's the point of learning from you? Kaguya. Yep, he hadn't changed. Still loved arguing with her. Takuman leaned on Shiragane's shoulder and looked at Kaguya. Why should I learn from 2nd place? Especially someone who's always 2nd. Kaguya could feel her blood pressure rising. It's not like 2nd place is bad. It's better than 5th. Then why not just learn from the person in 1st? Honestly, your 2nd place is just as meaningless as my 5th. Only number 1 matters. No one remembers who's 2nd or 3rd. Takuman said. Like how everyone knows Mount Everest is the tallest mountain. But who remembers the 2nd tallest? K2 is the 2nd highest peak. And that's exactly why you lose to the president. Your brain's full of useless facts that don't show up on exams. Fuming. Absolutely fuming. Failing to surpass Shiragane already had her on edge. Now Takuman kept rubbing salt in the wound. It was almost unbearable. Seems like you don't know this, Takuman-kun. I used to be number 1 in our first year. Even though she'd mentally pounded him into a pulp, Kaguya still smiled gracefully. Don't brag about the past, Shinomiya. When you bring up old stuff like that, it just makes you seem hopeless. Why is this guy so infuriating? Why don't you try learning from the president? Though honestly, even if you did, you still wouldn't beat him. I can't. I must not snap. The president is watching. I can't actually beat Takuman to a pulp. Kaguya repeatedly told herself. That's enough, Renji. Shiragane tried to mediate, seeing how badly things were going. Shinomiya works very hard. You should learn from that attitude. There's nothing wrong with that. Oh, is that so? Why do you only listen when he says it? Takuman nodded and looked at the clearly fuming Kaguya. You really work hard, Shinomiya? Of course. And you still can't beat the president? Yeah, you're hopeless. Shinomiya Kaguya's nerves finally snapped. In the end, she stormed out of the student council room, puffing with anger. Of course, she wouldn't actually beat up the guy who drove her to mental breakdown. After all, she had to maintain her ladylike image. But she was definitely going to go cry to Hayasaka. At this moment, Only Takuman Renji and Miyuki Shirogane remained in the student council room. Takuman, I have a feeling. I have my reasons for going after Shinomiya Kaguya like that. Takuman Renji explained. Remember what I promised you before? You mean helping you get together with the Shinomiya family's heiress? I haven't forgotten. Takuman Renji said, what I'm doing is partly lowering her and lifting you up in her perception, to bridge some of that gap. Also, I'm shifting suspicion away from me helping you. I see. Chapter 53, You seem to have done something really enviable, Hayasaka. Behind the school building, Hayasaka I was just enjoying a crepe she bought from the cafeteria when someone suddenly crashed into her, smashing the cream all over her face. Looking down, it was none other than Shinomiya Kaguya who had just stormed out of the student council office. What's wrong, Kaguya-sama? Hayasaka, I was bullied. That's rare. Who at this school would dare bully you? It was Takuman Renji. Looking at the frustrated Kaguya resting in her arms, Hayasaka didn't know what to say. This Takuman Renji is too much. He made me completely lose face in front of the president. It's just. Even if you tell me, I can't do anything about it. No, you can do something. Kaguya placed both hands on Hayasaka's shoulders, eyes unusually serious. You go talk to him. He'll definitely listen to you. Are you serious? Of course. If this keeps up, my image in the president's eyes will keep going down. Kaguya said anxiously. Although Shirogane Miyuki's impression of her hadn't changed much since Takuman joined the council, Kaguya didn't know that. She just felt that if Takuman kept clashing with her, her whole plan to get Miyuki to confess might never come true. Then, Kaguya-sama, let's think this through. Hayasaka wiped the cream off her face. No one at school knows I'm your personal maid, right? Right. Then how should I even approach him? Should I reveal our relationship? Well, no one, not even Takuman Renji, knew Hayasaka I was Kaguya's personal attendant. To the public, they were just classmates. At most, Takuman knew Hayasaka's family worked for the Shinomiya conglomerate, and they'd known each other as kids. That was it. And he wasn't the type to go digging for more. He wasn't that free. If Renji finds out I'm your maid, what do you think will happen? Then. Kaguya paused and thought. If he finds out Hayasaka has been helping her from the shadows, covering for her and doing the dirty work. Knowing Takuman's personality, he would definitely pull a gun on her. The woman I once liked is being used as a servant by the Shinomiya family? Are you people not done dying yet? That's exactly what he'd say. In that moment, Kaguya was once again reminded of the very real danger to her life. She had gotten too used to Takuman Renji acting like a normal student. She had almost forgotten he was the man who once, at age 12, stormed her family estate with a gun. Besides, even if I do go talk to him, in what capacity should I do so? At that, Hayasaka lowered her head and muttered, back then. I turned him down personally. What right do I have to tell him anything now? Why would he listen to a girl who once rejected him? Sorry, I didn't think it through. It's fine. Hayasaka gently hugged Kaguya's shoulders in comfort, and Kaguya rested her head against Hayasaka's chest. Only when they were alone could they show this kind of closeness. Since elementary school, Hayasaka had kept a low profile, always hiding their true relationship. Suddenly, Hayasaka caught a glimpse of someone approaching. Without thinking, she shoved Kaguya forward. Ah! Kaguya stumbled away and nearly fell. Until a hand caught her. Ah! Thank you. She turned around to thank the person. And saw the last face she wanted to see. Takuman Renji? It was Takuman Renji who caught her. On his way to the cafeteria after leaving the student council office, he had walked around the school building and saw everything. Shinomiya-san. Takuman's eyes grew sharp and cold. That killing aura in his gaze made Kaguya shiver. What is it? Kaguya tried to maintain a calm smile, but her heart was pounding. Did he see? Did he realize Hayasaka is my attendant? I'm done for. I saw everything just now. He really saw it. What do I say? Just say we're good friends? Will he buy that? You. Takuman stared into her eyes and said with chilling indifference, you damn bastard. You just did something insanely enviable. Kaguya. Hayasaka. He really had no filter for his envy, jealousy, and resentment. But thankfully, he didn't seem to notice Hayasaka's real identity, which relieved Kaguya. Oh my, Hayasaka and I are classmates. Isn't it normal for girls to be affectionate? Much as I hate to admit it, I can't argue with that. Yep, some things just can't be helped. Seeing the vein pop on Takuman's forehead, Kaguya felt oddly satisfied. Serves him right for embarrassing her earlier. TCH. Takuman couldn't say anything back. Clicking his tongue, he turned to leave. But just as he passed by Hayasaka, she suddenly stepped forward, grabbed his collar, and pulled his head into her chest. A. E. As a sheltered young lady, Kaguya was so stunned by Hayasaka's boldness that her face turned red and she covered her mouth in shock. Takuman was also startled out of his wits. Alright, now you don't have to be jealous. Hayasaka let go of his collar. Takuman covered his nose and chuckled bitterly, you really have gotten a lot bolder. People change. After chatting a bit more, Takuman went off to the cafeteria. Hayasaka and Kaguya walked together in the opposite direction. Hayasaka. Just now. It's nothing worth fussing over. Hayasaka's normally blank face actually wore a rare smile. Looks like what happened 4 years ago didn't completely ruin my chances. Chapter 54, Love Letter. Takuman, what was the first Japanese sentence you learned? In the student council office, the usual four were gathered again. It was lunchtime, and Takuman had nothing better to do, so he usually hung out here. Shirogane Miyuki was signing student suggestion forms as always. Kaguya sat on the couch reading a letter. As for Fujiwara Chika, Takuman had never once seen her actually do any student council work. Bored, Chika turned to chat with the equally idle Takuman. Why are you curious about my first Japanese sentence? Just curious. After all, you're one of the few international students at Shuchen. She said with a smile. Fun fact, Fujiwara Chika came from a political family. Her mother was a diplomat, so she learned many languages from a young age. My first Japanese sentence, huh? Let me think. Takuman coughed twice and pointed dramatically ahead. Shinjitsu wa itsumo hitatsu. There is always one truth. Oh. That one. So you came to Japan because of anime too, huh? Chika grinned. Not quite. I just saw a few episodes when I was little and thought I could speak Japanese. Then I went around showing off. Kinda cringe in hindsight. Takuman chuckled. By the way, my second Japanese sentence was Zewarudo. That's not Japanese. Just poorly pronounced English. Later, when I needed to came to Japan for some business, I learned more Japanese. Phrases like shine, go die, or bakurazuzo. I'll kill you. Why would you learn those kinds of words first? Chika asked, sweat dropping. Oh, because they're daily use vocabulary. Who uses those in daily conversations? Chika laughed awkwardly. Then she noticed Kaguya looking at a letter and leaned over. Kaguya, what a reading? Oh, this. Kaguya smirked slightly. A love letter. A love letter? When Shinomiya Kaguya said the words love letter, Fujiwara Chika let out an excited shriek. Shirogane Miyuki stopped writing, and Takuman Renji widened his eyes. That's right. A love letter. Kaguya glanced indifferently at the 3 student council members' reactions, particularly at Shirogane, who was pretending not to care. She smiled and said, it was very passionate. Inviting me to go out for a meal. Takuman Renji, are all the students these days blind? What do you mean by that? I'm still very popular at school. Kaguya immediately shouted. Renji's one-liner instantly ruined the mood she had been building up. She once again shifted her gaze to Shirogane Miyuki. Although he maintained a calm exterior, his trembling hands betrayed his unease. Looks like this plan won't fail even with Takuman Renji here. Shirogane was a little bothered upon hearing that Kaguya received a love letter, but on second thought, he didn't take it seriously. He firmly believed Shinomiya Kaguya wouldn't accept any other guy's invitation. After all, in his eyes, no other male in this school was better than him. So, Fujiwara Chika asked excitedly, is Kaguya going to accept the invitation? Kaguya smiled gently. Of course. Snap. Shirogane's pen snapped in half. Are you out of your mind? Accepting an invitation from someone who didn't even show his face? Shirogane instantly sensed danger. Kaguya, on the other hand, put on the face of a love-struck maiden, holding the letter with a sweet smile. It took courage to give me that letter. I believe I'll definitely come to like him too. The excited Fujiwara and dumbfounded Shirogane both started to believe she might really do it. However, Shinomiya-san, the school rules don't allow dating, said Takuman Renji. Good job, Renji. Shirogane cheered internally but kept a calm face. Oh my, Takuman-kun isn't part of the disciplinary committee anymore. Are you still meddling in these things? Kaguya replied. I may not be on the committee anymore, but I'm still close with people who are openly violating school rules like this. Is it really okay? The rules don't say dating is strictly prohibited. Besides, it's just a meal. Kaguya said with a smile. Are you really going on that date? Of course. As she answered, Kaguya paid close attention to Shirogane's every move. Unless you beg me not to go, I won't cancel the date, President. The art of feigned retreat. Pretending to be interested in another person's invitation was just a tactic to make the one she actually cared about nervous. As long as Shirogane got flustered and asked her not to go, her plan would be complete. Shinomiya. Shirogane finally looked up and spoke in a stern tone. As the student council president, I oppose impure relationships between boys and girls. A flanking maneuver. Instead of speaking as a concerned individual, he cleverly took the stance of the student council president, avoiding the direct point. You're overreacting. I said it's just a meal. Kaguya replied with a smile. It's not your opinion that matters, but the school's. Shirogane said, trying to keep calm. If you insist on going, I'll have to report this to a teacher. Report to the teacher. Classic little brother behavior. A suspension? As soon as she heard that word, Fujiwara Chika jumped up and looked anxiously between Shirogane and Kaguya. Clearly, she was very concerned about the idea of suspension. Kaguya didn't expect Shirogane to pull that card, but she had no choice but to double down. If it's true love, then I'll go even if I get expelled. Her firm tone and serious expression made the entire student council believe her. Have you lost your mind, Kaguya? It's just suspension. Takuman Renji said nonchalantly. I was suspended for a whole month once. No big deal. Hey! Whose side are you even on, Renji? Shirogane was screaming inside. Just like Takuman-kun said, for true love, even if it means suspension. Before Kaguya could finish, Renji turned to Shirogane and said, President, as you can see, an unsigned love letter was enough to lure her away. That proves Shinomiya-san is a frivolous woman. Shinomiya Kaguya. Personal attack. A forbidden move. Most people wouldn't dare. While Kaguya wanted to push Shirogane into confessing, she never intended to be seen as a frivolous woman. Or maybe Shinomiya-san is just desperate for love. That's enough. I'm definitely not going on that date. Chapter 55, Club Budget. Takuman, I have a task for you. I'm listening, President. After school, Shinomiya Kaguya and Fujiwara Chika had left for their club activities. Takuman Renji originally planned to head to his astronomy club, which basically existed for slacking, but was called into the student council office by Shirogane. Here's the situation. As part of the student council duties, we're responsible for allocating club activity funds. The money comes from donations by the OB Association, Alumni Association. Shirogane said while taking out a form. These donations from the OB Association were generally used as student council funds, club budgets, and for class field trips. Since most Shuchen Academy graduates were top elites in various fields, the donation amounts were substantial. Let me see. Renji took the form and skimmed it. It listed the total funds available this quarter, as well as the spending of each club from the previous one. 10 million yen in total, and the baseball club gets 3 million? Well, it's an athletic club after all. At Shuchen, aside from hierarchy by family background, there was also a massive pyramid based on club prestige. At the top were the athletic clubs, second was the ping pong club, third were the cultural clubs, fourth were the go-home club, those who leave right after school, and at the bottom was the manga club. Club prestige directly affected popularity. A benchwarmer from a sports club was more popular than the president of a cultural club. By the way, sports club members usually had no problem getting girlfriends. The manga club is below even the go-home club? Japan really looks down on otaku. Well, it's a pretty serious situation. So, what's the task, President? Renji asked. I want you to handle the distribution of club budgets. Shirogane said. I usually do it myself, but now that we have a treasurer, I'd like you to take it over. Got it. Anything I should be aware of? Try to save where possible. The economy isn't doing well, and donations have been decreasing year by year. Trim the budget a bit. Shirogane said. Oh. So can we pocket the extra money? What kind of question is that? Of course not. Shirogane said, face-palming in frustration. Every time we allocate club funds, it's a huge headache. Because of the club union? Pretty much. There are some people over there we can't afford to offend. I got it. Leave this to me. Renji took the papers. But to ensure fairness, I'll need to visit each club for inspection. Then I'll leave it to you. On the rooftop, the clubroom for Renji and Ryuji Momo's astronomy club. Budget, huh? After hearing Renji's explanation, Momo barely reacted, continuing to lie on a cushion playing on her phone. Just keep it the same as before. We don't really need club funds anyway. The economy's not great. Can I just cut it in half? No. I may laze around on the roof most of the time, but we still need the funds. For telescopes and models sometimes. Our club actually does normal activities. Of course. Otherwise, the school wouldn't approve us. Fine. Budget stays the same. Renji scribbled down the astronomy club's quarterly budget. Inside the kendo dojo. The kendo club president, dressed in a uniform and holding a bamboo sword, stared at Renji coldly. What are you doing here? I'm here to evaluate the kendo club and distribute budget accordingly. Rinji said flatly. Club funds? Wasn't that Shiragane's job? I'm the student council treasurer. It's mine now. TCH. Can't believe someone like you got into the council. Okay, slandering a council member. Your club's budget gets cut in half. What? Are you serious? Completely. Rinji said to the furious club president. Then do your job properly. Cutting funds just because you feel like it? Okay, new reason. Because you're the club president, your funds get cut. How is that any better? You're still not satisfied? You're really such a drama queen. Completely ignoring the furious face of the Kendo club captain, Takumin Renji casually picked at his ear with a finger and continued speaking. Then I'll say this. I hate your hedgehog haircut. So, your activity budget needs to be halved. Are you kidding me? You're just finding an excuse to cut our funding. Isn't it obvious? Based on what? Our Kendo club has won the National High School Kendo Championship 2 years in a row. What reason do you have to cut our funds? Because I'm the student council treasurer, so what I say goes. What? I said the calculation. What the hell are you even saying? Alright, seeing how pissed off you are, I'll give you a more reasonable explanation. Putting down the forms in his hand, Takumin Renji stared at the enraged Kendo club captain in front of him. I think your club's overall skill level is mediocre, and there are signs of people slacking off. So I'm cutting your funds. And what makes you qualified to say that? Because you, the club captain, can't even beat me, the treasurer. Oh yeah? The captain sneered. Then how about we settle it inside? Been waiting for you to say that. After taking off his shoes, Takumin Renji followed the captain into the dojo, where other club members were still practicing with bamboo swords. The captain suited up with the help of other members and cleared a spot in the center of the room. Do you need me to get you some armor? The captain looked at Takumin Renji, who was still in his school uniform. No need. Renji casually grabbed a bamboo sword off the rack and gave it a few swings. From the way he held the sword, he was clearly an amateur. Just so you know, I recently achieved 3rd Dan in Kendo. The captain frowned. Are you really not going to wear armor? Doesn't matter. If you hurt me, you won't be getting a single cent from your budget. What a despicable man. Chapter 56, Hesitation equals defeat. The Kendo club captain took his stance, holding the bamboo sword ready, while Takumin Renji stood before him, casually waving his sword twice before holding it horizontally with one hand. From every angle, he looked like a total novice. Like someone who watched a couple anime episodes and thought striking a pose made him cool. The rest of the Kendo club paused their training and turned to watch the duel. Planning to spend a few nights in the hospital already? The captain frowned. You? Sending me to the hospital? Are you joking? You little. The captain's eyes sharpened. With one step forward, he raised his sword and slashed at Renji's head. Oh, by the way. If you injure me, I'm not sure how you'll explain that to the school. Hearing that, the captain's sword halted in midair. At that moment, Renji seized the chance and tapped his bamboo sword against the captain's helmeted head. Bong. Hesitation equals defeat. Renji said. I'll take the first point. You're unbelievably shameless. All's fair in war. Falling for my chat distraction strategy just proves your focus and IQ need work. I've had enough. The captain stepped back, picked up his bamboo sword again, and his eyes turned deadly serious. I'm done with your cheap tricks. Even if I have to send you to the hospital, I won't hold back. Didn't you forget your real goal was to secure your club's funding? Shut up. Whoosh. He rushed forward, raising his bamboo sword high and swinging it down again. But just then, Renji suddenly pulled a pistol from his coat and aimed it at the captain. A gun? The captain froze mid-strike. Bong. Renji lightly tapped his bamboo sword on the captain's forehead again. Told you. Hesitation equals defeat. He didn't say a word, but the way his clenched jaw and trembling shoulders looked made it clear. He was furious. You bastard. Who the hell brings a gun to a match? Oh, it's just a water gun. A realistic-looking one. Renji pulled the trigger, and a tiny stream of water squirted out, spraying the captain's face. Far from cooling him down, it only made him angrier. Technically, bringing any non-regulation items into a kendo match meant automatic disqualification. But the captain no longer cared about the rules. He just wanted to beat this shameless guy down. Ah. This time, he charged in again with full force and fury. He'd made up his mind, no matter what dirty trick Renji tried next, he would land a blow hard enough to leave a lump on the guy's head. However, the moment his bamboo sword got close to Renji, the latter lightly shifted his foot and dodged. He ducked low. And suddenly his bamboo sword had changed into a perfect iaijutsu stance. You. The strike came so fast that before the captain could react, Renji's sword slammed into his helmet. Thud. The impact launched the captain backward through the air. Thump. Captain. Are you alright? The captain crashed to the ground far away. His club members rushed over to check on him. Thanks to the protective gear, he wasn't seriously hurt. After being helped up, he just felt dizzy. Meanwhile, Rinji's bamboo sword had a visible crack in it. Evidence of the force behind that last blow. I should have shouted Husigi to boost my momentum. Oh well. Putting the sword back on the rack, Rinji took out his form sheet and marked down the Kendo Club's budget for the quarter. Like I said, your skill level is mediocre. Cutting your funds a bit is fair, isn't it? Damn it. If you've got no objections, I'm off to inspect the next club. Take care. With that, he walked out of the dojo, leaving behind the captain and his fuming club members. Though he'd used underhanded tricks at first, the captain had to admit, Rinji's final strike was pure strength. Even with a rematch, he probably wouldn't win. He just couldn't understand why someone strong enough to win outright would intentionally play dirty just to mess with people. At Shuchin Academy, cultural clubs usually had relatively stable budgets, while sports clubs saw the most fluctuations. That's because sports clubs burn through money the fastest, and their funding typically depended on recent performance. The Kendo Club's expenses were originally quite high, but with Takam and Rinji slashing their budget by half, a large amount of funding was freed up, equal to the combined budgets of two cultural clubs. Among cultural clubs, aside from the usual suspects like astronomy or history, there were some oddballs. One such oddball was the one Takam and Rinji was currently visiting. The Occult Research Club. Seated across from him was a beautiful girl with long straight black hair and perpetually closed eyes, making it impossible to read her thoughts. I remember you, she said. You're the one who stood next to President Shirogane at the last meeting, right? Let's skip the whole kid talk, please, Miss Tenboyumi. The girl with the closed eyes was Tenboyumi, a third-year, president of the Occult Research Club, and a member of the Student Club Union, Shuchin VIP. She came from a religious family and was the granddaughter of the high-ranking Shindo priest of the religious legal body Shrine Main Temple. I am here to assess your club and fairly allocate your budget, Takam and Rinji said. I'm not like President Shirogane. My evaluations are strict. A club like yours with no measurable results doesn't really deserve funding. You can't say that. Yumi replied with a smile. We actually do have a reason to exist. We give fortune tellings to students who come here. Fortune telling? Want me to read yours, Renji-kun? As she spoke, Boyumi pulled out a crystal ball and a deck of tarot cards from under the table. TCH. You think I'd believe in that hocus-pocus crap? Though he said that, Takam and Rinji decided to stay and see what kind of trick she was going to pull. Tenboyumi casually flipped a few tarot cards and gave a slight smile. Rinji-kun, I foresee trouble with women in your future. Huh? What's that supposed to mean? It means you'll be very popular with girls. Even if you don't find a girlfriend, you'll still have hookups. That prediction is utter nonsense. Doesn't match my current situation at all. Without changing his expression, Takam and Rinji took out his form and wrote in the Supernatural Phenomena Research Club's budget. Your club budget is up 10% compared to last year. Much appreciated. Chapter 57, Board Game Club. After leaving the Occult Research Club, Takam and Rinji headed to the Judo Club. The Judo Club captain was someone Takaman had been fairly acquainted with back in the day. As soon as he heard that Takaman was planning to cut their budget, he immediately put on a pleading face and said, Come on, we've known each other for a while now. Can't you let this slide? Our club has pretty high expenses too. Then, when Takaman proposed, how about a match? If you beat me, I'll increase your funding. The Judo Club captain showed great integrity and replied, Can you just cut a little less instead? In the end, the Judo Club had their budget cut by 5%. Originally, Takam and Rinji had followed Miyuki Shirogane's instructions to the letter. Given the economic downturn and the drop in donations, every bit of savings counted. But after combing through all the figures, he discovered there would actually be quite a lot of surplus funds left. After that, he visited the football and baseball clubs, two of the most couple-heavy sports clubs in Shuchin Academy. Logically speaking, Takam and Rinji should have slashed their budgets down to the bone. But since any surplus wouldn't end up in his own pocket anyway, he decided to leave their budgets as they were. As for the rugby club, Takam and Rinji arrived at their activity room and pulled out his form, facing several muscular men. Alright, tell me. Why hasn't Shuchin Academy's rugby club made it to the nationals in all these years? Who's slacking off? Takaman-kun, you mean you don't know? What would I possibly know? The rugby club members exchanged awkward glances until finally the captain spoke up. For the past few years, we've been knocked out during the qualifiers for the global tournaments. By who? A school also located in Tokyo. Jindai High in Chofu. Jindai High. Takaman Rinji lowered his head in thought. He'd heard of that school. His Aunt Kaya and Uncle Sagra both graduated from there, and apparently even his old man had studied there too. I mean, Shuchin Academy's a century-old elite institution. Don't you guys have any pride as students of a top school? Getting crushed by the same school year after year? You don't understand. Their rugby team isn't even human. The rugby club captain, a big guy, had fear in his eyes. During the last Tokyo qualifiers, we came up against them. And those guys had nothing but bloodlust in their eyes. Every one of them fought like their lives were on the line. When they hit you, it was like being mauled by wild beasts. After the match, several of our members dropped out of the club entirely. That terrifying, huh? Hearing this, Takuman Renji was momentarily stunned, but still proceeded to write down the rugby club's budget allocation. Whatever the reason, the fact is you haven't achieved results. Even other clubs without big wins have at least made it to nationals in recent years. You guys? Completely bottom tier. A 10% budget cut sound fair? Yeah. Then train harder. Once you make it to nationals, I'll consider giving you more. Leaving the rugby club, Takuman Renji glanced down at the data on his form. Most clubs had already been budgeted out. Only a few scattered ones remained. In the sports category, only the archery club was left. In the cultural category, there were still the journalism club, drama club, and finally the one he was heading to now. The tabletop gaming club. This club was an odd one. Rumor had it that there wasn't a single normal person among its members, including the president. They were constantly engaging in borderline rule-breaking activities, earning the nickname the Devil's Den. Standing at the door of the clubroom, Takuman Renji hesitated briefly before knocking. Knock knock knock. Coming. A bright and energetic voice came from inside. The door opened to reveal familiar long pink hair and the iconic black bow. Ah. It's Takuman-kun. Secretary Fujiwara, huh? I'd already heard rumors you were here. Seeing the cheerful Chika Fujiwara, Takuman Renji had the strong urge to turn and walk away. What brings you to the board game club today? It's student council business. The quarterly budgets come in. As treasurer, I need to inspect the status of each club before allocating or adjusting funds. Oh. Then come on in. Chika Fujiwara grabbed Takuman Renji's hand and dragged him inside. He looked around the clubroom. Several tables pushed together with unfinished games on them. Trash bins were overflowing with snack wrappers. Who's here? A short-haired girl sitting at the front of the room asked. She was also a first-year student like him. Makahara Kazu, aka Maki Isenhai, was the permanent club president of the board game club, and was referred to with a senior's honorific despite being a freshman herself. An impressive figure. Hello, Makahara-san. Oh. Takuman-kun. She smiled. Don't tell me you're here to join? No, I'm already in the astronomy club. He casually grabbed a chair, sat down, and pulled out the form from his pocket. I'm here to assess your club's finances and allocate your budget for the quarter. I see. Mashihara nodded, then signaled Chika behind him with a glance. Got it. Chika playfully saluted and skipped to a drawer, returning with a cup of cola. Takuman-kun, here's some soda for you. Thanks. Takuman expressionlessly opened the can and took a sip. Secretary Fujiwara, you're not trying to bribe me with soda, are you? Of course not. Chika feigned innocence, whistling quietly. Though no sound came out. Takuman scanned the room. Including Chika and Makahara, there were 4 girls total. I had a quick look around. You guys have a ton of board games here, including many of the latest releases. Yeah, those cost quite a lot. But altogether, they don't even amount to half of your club's current budget. Takuman suddenly said. Your budget is already double that of a normal cultural club. Well, there's a reason for that. Makahara looked off to the side. I also noticed your trash can is full of snack wrappers, and when Fujiwara took out the soda, I saw a whole drawer full of junk food. Takuman frowned. So most of your funds are going to snacks instead of actual board games. That can't be helped. Chika shouted from the side. Board games need snacks. They're essential. Okay, let's say snacks are essential. Have you guys achieved any results recently? Won a competition? Promoted board games as a cultural hobby? Raised Shuchin's public image? Geez, Takuman-kun, you're so stingy. Chika pouted. It's not about being stingy. It's about whether this money is being used for club activities or just entertainment. Unclear spending isn't acceptable. Takuman still couldn't understand how this club hadn't been disbanded. He suspected it had something to do with Fujiwara being a student council secretary. And Makahara's influence. So how much do you plan to allocate us this time? Mashihara asked. Factoring in your membership count, your board game needs, and potential school event costs. Let's see. I'm thinking of cutting 50% compared to last quarter. EA? Don't give me that look. Right now, I'm just a ruthless budget-cutting machine. Takuman said calmly. If you have any objections, feel free to bring a detailed activity plan to the student council office. Slam. Before he could finish, Mashihara smacked the table. About that budget decision, Takuman-kun, how about we settle this with a duel? Oh? Chapter 58, Blackjack, you want to compete? In what? Let's settle the budget dispute with a game. Makuhara pointed straight at him, full of confidence. Let's play a board game to determine the outcome. I'm not that well versed in board games, so I think. Relax. We won't bully you. She smiled and pulled 2 boxes of playing cards from a drawer. Not a traditional board game. We'll use something simple. Blackjack. Blackjack, also known as 21, originated in France and is now played worldwide. Typically 2 to 6 players use a standard 52-card deck, no jokers. The goal is to get as close to 21 as possible without exceeding it. Simple rules. A classic casino game. So you're saying you're unhappy with me cutting 50% of your budget and want to reverse the outcome through a game of blackjack? Exactly. Makuhara smiled. If we win, you must release our full budget without any cuts. And if you lose? Don't forget, I have the authority here. If losing means nothing changes, there's no punishment. That's not fair. Takuman pointed out. If we lose. Makuhara paused, then snapped her fingers. How about this? Fujiwara will go on a date with you. EA? Chika squealed in shock. Takuman's face went dark. Having to go on a date with this crazy woman, in his eyes, felt like he was the one being punished. I feel malice. Can we pick something else? Hey. Takuman-kun, what's that supposed to mean? Is going out with me that unthinkable? Would you like being forced to go on a date with someone? Chika put a finger on her chin. If it's with Takuman-kun, I guess it wouldn't be too bad. I feel like you just don't care either way. And no, I still don't accept this. Then it's settled. Let's begin. Makuhara clapped her hands. Fine. Takuman agreed to the match. Though in his heart, he was already planning to report this tabletop gaming club gambling incident, and cut their budget by another 50% on top of the current cut. There were 5 participants including Takuman, who would act as the dealer. To ensure fairness, you shuffle the cards, and then each of us will reshuffle them too. That okay? Sure. Also, we're using 8 decks for this game. Makuhara smiled. 8 decks, huh? If it were only a single deck, Takuman Rinji could easily calculate the probability of the hidden cards in his head and come up with a winning strategy. But with 8 decks, the difficulty of calculation still wasn't too high for him, but it introduced a lot more variables. Rinji skillfully shuffled the cards, then handed them to Makuhara Sazu after she finished shuffling the cards. She, in turn, passed the cards to her clubmates to shuffle, and finally, they ended up with Fujiwara Chika. As Chika was leisurely shuffling the cards, Rinji suddenly said, Secretary Fujiwara, you wouldn't be cheating, would you? What are you saying? Of course not. Then what was with that little pause? As usual, Rinji began dealing the cards. Everyone at the table had some small toys prepared by the Tabletop Gaming Club to use as chips. On his table, he had 1 face-down card and a visible 6. As for the 4 girls in front of him, their face-up cards were K, 9, 19 points 8, K, 18 points K, 20 points 2, 7, 9 points. Makuhara Sazu glanced at her card, then at Rinji's hidden card and said, hit. Meaning she wanted 1 more card. Rinji paused. Excluding the jokers, 1 deck has 50 cards. 8 decks total 400 cards. Subtracting the 10 cards already dealt, 390 cards remained. If the card she drew wasn't an A or a 2, she would bust. Given that 1-2 was already in Fujiwara Chika's hand, her chance of drawing either of the 2 cards she needed was only about 0.16. Was she really going to take that risk? Seeing Sazu's confident expression, Rinji suspiciously dealt her a card. It turned out to be the 2 of spades. Awesome. 21 points. K plus 9 plus 2 equals exactly 21. You're pretty lucky. Rinji said. Though still suspicious, everyone continued playing. In the next round, Rinji had a hidden card and a visible 9. The others had J, 9. 19 points 4, 5. 9 points Q, 3. 13 points J, Q. 20 points stand. Said Sazu, deciding not to draw. The next member also chose to stand. The following one hit and drew a 7, making 20 points. Then it was Chika's turn. She had 20 points already. Anyone with common sense wouldn't risk drawing another card unless it was an A. So Rinji assumed she'd stand. I choose hit. Chika declared. Are you insane? Humphrey. Rinji, you just don't understand. The real thrill in games like these comes from dancing on the edge of the blade. Chika struck a wise pose that left Rinji completely baffled. Alright. Don't blame me if you bust. Rinji dealt her another card. It was an ace. Oh. Looks like I won my gamble. Chika laughed cheerfully. No. Something's not right. Whether it was Sazu's hit at 19 or Chika's at 20, both looked like risky gamblers' choices. But they didn't make sense. Rinji glanced at the board game club members. It was as if they had known what was coming. He lowered his head, thinking. Was there something he missed? Wait. He suddenly noticed something odd about the backs of the cards. He flipped over his own hidden card and his eyes widened. Then the corner of his mouth curled into a smile. You can go ahead and deal now, Rinji. Sure. Rinji said with a smile. But before that, mind if I put something on? It boosts my luck. Huh, that's fine, I guess. Great. Rinji took out a black ring from his pocket and put it on his index finger. It wasn't anything fancy, but if you looked closely, there was a magic circle engraved on it. Chapter 59, Live Deck Printing Board Game Club, I have a suggestion. Not sure if you'll accept it. For some reason, after putting on the ring, Takuman Renji gave off a subtly different vibe. Mashihara Suzu sensed this strange change but still asked, what's your suggestion? Since I need to finish auditing the rest of the clubs before school ends, I don't have much time to spend here. So, how about we raise the stakes? One final game to decide it all. What? Since you and Secretary Fujiwara won the last 2 rounds, I still have 5 chips left. I'll go all in on this one game. That's fine, but what exactly do you mean by raise the stakes? Rinji smiled faintly. When reviewing the other clubs, I noticed some issues. The Kendo club's performance was poor, so I cut 50% of their budget. Judo club lost 5%. Rugby club failed to qualify for nationals, so they lost 10%. These 3 sports clubs had inflated budgets. Together, their cuts total about 3 times your club's usual funding. You mean? If budgets increase too much, it causes all kinds of problems. But if you win, all those cut funds will be transferred to the tabletop gaming club. This. A huge activity fund was incredibly tempting. Sazu hesitated for a moment. She looked up and asked, then. What happens if we lose? If you lose, the board game club will receive 0 funding for this quarter, due to illegal gambling. Eh? Fujiwara Chika jumped up in shock. No funding? As in 0? Exactly. Originally, I thought of dissolving your club altogether, but decided against it. Rinji grinned. So, do you accept? Makihara Sazu frowned. The deck they were using had a mechanism. The card backs had slight pattern differences. If you looked closely at the upper right corner, you could see a small number indicating the card's value. Which meant, even when cards were face down, they could tell what the card was. Whether it was Rinji's hidden card or the top card in the deck. But if Rinji had figured that out too, then they were now playing on equal ground. Their only advantage left was that with 4 members, as long as even one of them won, they could still claim victory. The real question was, had Rinji noticed the mechanism? After a moment's hesitation, Suzu asked, can we deal the cards first and decide whether to bet afterward? Sure. Alright. Rinji began dealing. His own cards, 1 face down, 1 10. Board game club's cards, 5, 8. 13 points 7, Q. 17 points K, 3. 13 points J, 6. 16 points. Sazu immediately looked at Rinji's hidden card and the top of the deck. The pattern on the top card suggested a Q. Rinji's hidden card looked like a 3. Looks like we've got this. The girls exchanged glances and pushed their chips forward. All in. Same here. Seeing them go all in, Rinji smiled. Then. Do you want to hit? Hit. As long as they won, their budget would triple. Knowing that, Sazu and Chika couldn't help but smile. Alright. Rinji dealt Sazu a card. The back pattern matched. Sazu excitedly flipped it over. 5 of spades. Q plus 8 plus 5 equals 23. Bust. A. Why? She quickly examined the card. The back definitely showed 3. Why did it turn out to be 5? What's wrong, Sazu? Rinji smiled. It's normal to bust in this kind of game. No need to look so surprised. Why yeah. You're right. She reluctantly set the card aside, clearly shaken. Next. Stand. Pass. Next. I'll hit. Okay. Rinji dealt a card, 7 of hearts. K plus 3 plus 7 equals 20. This member had seen 7 on the back, so she chose to hit, and it turned out correct. Suzu began to doubt. Was her draw just bad luck? Lastly, it was Chika's turn. She had 16 points. The top card showed 4. I'll hit. Alright. Rinji dealt the card. It was a 4 of diamonds. J plus 6 plus 4 equals 20. Phew. Safe. Chika wiped non-existent sweat from her forehead. The board game club girls now relaxed. Suzu's error must have been a fluke. Now they had 1 bust, 1 17, and 2 20s. Even if not all 1, at least 2 survived. Just as everyone was relieved, Rinji flipped his hidden card. Ace of hearts. 10 plus A equals blackjack. What? How is that even possible? Takuman Rinji raised the 2 cards in his hand with a smile. In the end, I won. What trick did you use? No trick. I just happened to win. It's just that since you all went all in, this became the final round. Rinji said. Which means this quarter, the board game club's budget is 0. Any complaints? No. But I'd like to know. How exactly did you win? Makohara Kazu frowned. You must have noticed the card backs, didn't you? Eh? Rinji already figured it out? Fujiwara Chika looked at him, shocked. Don't take me for a fool, Secretary Fujiwara. I noticed that a long time ago. I just decided to play along. As Rinji spoke, he picked up the spade 5 from in front of Kazu and held it up for everyone to see. As for my trick, it's this. With a flick of his wrist, the spade 5 turned into a spade 3. What kind of principle is that? Live card printing. Chapter 60, Continued Budget Cuts. Rinji, teach me that magic trick from earlier. No. So stingy. From the moment Rinji left the tabletop gaming club room, Fujiwara Chika followed him. She was extremely curious about the live card printing he had demonstrated. But no matter how much she begged, Rinji remained unmoved. Alright, time for you to get back to your club. I've got other clubs to audit. Very busy. Humphrey. Then give me your line. Eh? Why? Weren't we supposed to go on a date since I lost? Come on. I deliberately didn't mention that, can't you just pretend it never happened? Geez, why do you make it sound like going out with me is so terrifying? Chika pouted. Do you say yes to every guy who asks you out? Of course not. You're part of the student council, right? We'll be working together, so it's just a little bonding trip. Nothing more. Chika said with a smile. It's really just hanging out, so don't overthink it. Don't worry. I wouldn't dare. After getting his line, Chika finally returned to the tabletop gaming club. Rinji, meanwhile, pulled out his audit sheet. The tabletop gaming club's budget had been handled. The journalism club, since it played a role in shaping school opinion, got a small funding increase. As for the drama club, since Rinji had once hospitalized their star member, Ojinoko, and sent him to Thailand, they were probably missing someone important. As compensation, he gave them a little more funding. Next was the final club. Near the school gymnasium, the sound of bowstrings echoed through the air. Inside, both boys and girls wore traditional archery uniforms. Each archer wore a glove on one hand and steadily drew their bows. This was the final club on Rinji's list. The archery club. Oh my, I didn't expect you to stop by, Rinji-kun. I didn't want to, but this is a task from the president. Standing in front of him was Shinomiya Kaguya, dressed in archery uniform. Her hair was tied back in a ponytail, and she carried a longbow, probably fresh from practice. What kind of task did the president assign you? Auditing clubs and adjusting their budgets accordingly. Rinji said. So, you're going to check out the archery club now? No need. I already have a good idea of the situation. Then. Cut 50%. EHH? Why? Kaguya couldn't believe it when she heard that half their budget would be slashed. The reason? Because you're in the archery club. How is that a reason? That's just a personal grudge. Then call it a personal grudge. Rinji-kun, this might be your first time participating in student council work, so maybe you don't understand. Kaguya suddenly calmed down. A 50% budget change is a serious matter. If there's no reasonable explanation, I'm sure the school will intervene. Then let them come talk to me. Right now, I am the rules. Rinji carried an arrogance and eccentricity that ordinary people couldn't comprehend. Kaguya knew this well. The president must have trusted you a lot to assign you this job. Exactly. So I'm going to complete it properly. Cutting budgets without a good reason will only cause problems for the president later. Don't worry. Anyone who tries to go around me and complain to the president probably won't be human by the next day. Well then, if you want a proper explanation, I can give you one. Rinji pulled a small notebook from his uniform pocket. Before coming to the archery club, I stopped by the journalism club. Turns out you have some obsessed fans there. One girl. Erika Kose, I think. Literally held me hostage for half an hour gushing about you. She wouldn't let me leave until she finished. Honestly, Why the hell do you have fans? What's wrong with those people? Rinji-kun, you really don't have to say everything that comes to your mind. Habit. Rinji opened the notebook and continued. Anyway, according to that second year, you're the captain of the archery club, right? Well, that's true. Kaguya had a 4-dan ranking in archery and had won first place in middle school competitions. She was easily the strongest member of the club. But it's said that ever since entering high school, you haven't participated in the national tournament. And it wasn't that you failed the preliminaries. You chose not to go. He lowered the notebook and looked her in the eyes. Is that true? Yes. It was. Even though she remained active in the club, Kaguya had deliberately skipped the national high school archery tournaments. Can I ask why? Were you injured? Or did the Shinomiya family forbid you from appearing in public? There's a reason. Then just tell me. If the captain is slacking off, then I've got plenty of reason to slash your budget. Ugh. Kaguya's expression twisted. The real reason was, the tournament always happened from December 24th to 26th. That clashed with Christmas. I can't say that out loud. I fantasized about the president asking me out on Christmas, and the tournament venue is too far to make it back in time. How am I supposed to admit that Christmas felt more important than nationals just because of my delusions? What's wrong with you? Rinji stared at Kaguya's blushing, conflicted face, completely baffled. I was sick. Ah, that's a shame then. Ahaha. Yeah. In the end, Kaguya lied. Your archery club takes up one of the highest sports budgets. I'll check in with the president about how to handle this. Maybe I'll have him visit the club too. The president? Coming to the archery club? Kaguya immediately imagined Shirogane Miyuki dressed in archery gear, drawing a bow. And herself gently handing him a towel. Kaguya-sama, what's wrong with you? You've been blushing non-stop today. Chapter 61, this man is still as cynical as ever president. Here's the full club budget breakdown. Please review it. Oh. That was fast. Shirogane Miyuki was surprised at how quickly Takam and Rinji had completed the work. He'd only assigned it after classes ended, and Rinji had already surveyed every club and filled out the report before school closed. He skimmed over the form and quickly noticed something off. Why is the total budget so much higher than before? Didn't you say that the OB Association cut their donations due to the economy? I thought I'd symbolically reduced some clubs' funding. Symbolically? Are you sure this is just a bit? Shirogane was sweating as he checked the specifics. His eyes nearly popped out. Why did you cut the Kendo club's budget by 50%? Because they suck. How is that a reason? They're not bad at all. Their captain even placed at nationals. I fought him. He's trash. Probably just got lucky at nationals. He's not that bad. Wait, you know Kendo? I dabble. Rinji said this while looking nostalgic. When I was little, I had an aunt who taught me. She was in high school at the time. But the Kendo she taught was meant to fight monsters as tall as buildings. That makes no sense. Now Shirogane wondered if Rinji had a severe case of Chayunabiu. The Kendo club captain is part of the joint club union committee. If you cut his budget like this. Don't worry. I increased funding for most of the other committee members, except Judo. Even if he complains, he won't cause much trouble. Rinji said, unconcerned. And I gave him a clear reason. He'll understand. I really hope this doesn't blow up. Shirogane continued reviewing Rinji's budget form with concern. 5% cut for the judo club. Still acceptable. But why 10% for the rugby club? Because they haven't made it to the national tournament. No need to allocate them too much. You're practically a tyrant. Shirogane Miyuki had some idea of what Takam and Rinji was like. When he saw that the soccer and baseball clubs hadn't received budget cuts, he breathed a slight sigh of relief. At least Rinji wasn't slashing funds just because those clubs had lots of couples. Wait. The Occult Research Club got a 10% increase. That's unexpected. And the Tabletop Gaming Club. Why is it 0? Because it's a fake club. Huh? How did you figure that out? Miyuki was utterly confused. Since Shuchin was founded, no club had ever had its entire budget revoked. Even failing clubs were usually disbanded first. I took a look around the Tabletop Gaming Club. Fujiwara was there too. It looked like the members were having fun, bonding over board games. Isn't that a good thing? Which is exactly why it's fake. Huh? A real board game club should be full of mind games, backstabbing, and plotting to win. Maybe even real-life King of Fighters breaking out. Stop projecting your dark worldview onto others. Anyway, they weren't happy about the 50% cut I initially suggested, so they challenged me to a game of blackjack and cheated. That's basically illegal gambling and fraud. After I beat them, I zeroed their budget as punishment. In that case, They really can't complain. But wait. You still managed to win even though they cheated? They cheated, but so did I. I never told you this before, but I'm actually incredibly good at sleight of hand. Rinji chuckled, thinking back. With my skills in gambling and cheating, I could clean up in Vegas. If only they'd let me into the casinos. But I'm underage. Maybe try a more normal way of making money. Miyuki gave a helpless smile. Though now that you mention it, I do remember there was one high school that allowed students to gamble. If you forgot the name, never mind. Anyway, making money like that is boring. Rinji waved dismissively while Miyuki kept reviewing the form. You didn't fill in the archery club's budget? That case is a bit special. I figured I'd leave it to you. Oh? The Shinomiya heiress is in that club. Ever since entering high school, she hasn't participated in the national archery competition. I was going to cut their budget by 50%, but she strongly protested. Well, of course she did. The rugby club hasn't even been to nationals in years and only got a 10% cut. No wonder Shinomiya objected. Miyuki groaned, rubbing his temples. The relationship between Rinji and Kaguya Shinomiya had always been tense. This was one of Miyuki's ongoing headaches. So I figured I'd let you decide. You want me to decide? What's your take? My take is, you should visit the archery club yourself, get familiar with them, then raise their budget. Wait, raise it? Miyuki was confused. Rinji had just said he'd slash it by half, and now he was recommending increasing it? President, you haven't forgotten our earlier talk, right? Rinji whispered. About helping you get closer to the Shinomiya heiress. Oh, right. Exactly. I'll be the villain who slashes the budget, and you can be the good guy who swoops in to restore it. That way, she sees you as her ally. Plus, she'll think highly of your capabilities. After all, you managed to rein in the budget-slashing machine. It's a good way to raise her affection for you. You've really thought this through, huh? Of course. At the same time, you can restore part of the Kendo Club's budget. As a member of the club union, their captain will also be satisfied. If someone wants to play the good guy, someone else has to be the bad guy. That's the simplest and most effective balance. I'm just playing my natural role. I see. Then the tabletop gaming club's budget. Gone. Without their donation, you wouldn't have the funds to raise other clubs' budgets. They're the sacrifice. You really need to work on your outlook. Chapter 62, so-called date. Unless it's a holiday, students only have free time on weekends. On this rare weekend, Takuman Renji didn't stay home playing games like usual. Instead, he went to visit the research department. Not because he was especially motivated, but because it felt wrong to keep skipping when he was listed as an official advisor. The last time he came was a week ago, when he buried the currently Miyako Ojino in a vacant lot near the lab. Ever since arriving in Japan, Renji hadn't properly visited the research department. Advisor Takuman, the prototype is ready for testing. Oh? Let me take a look. Inside a massive facility, high-end equipment was everywhere, and white-coated researchers bustled about. Renji had changed into a lab coat as well. Guided by one of the staff, he entered a specific room. His official position here was technical advisor. The kind that's never actually around. The room held a large control platform and a mechanical arm in the center. In front of it sat a helmet-like device. This thing's been in development for years now, right? It was actually completed in the 90s. The last chief designer made it as a military prototype. But after she left, the focus shifted. 5 years ago, HQ decided to adapt some military tech for civilian use, and this project resumed. Whether it's commercially viable now depends on marketing. Renji stepped up and put on the helmet. Once a researcher hit the power switch, the helmet lit up. And the robotic arm began to move, its fingers flexing with surprising dexterity. It was a prototype for a medical robotic limb. An ongoing research project. The responsiveness still needs work. It doesn't feel much better than the commercial muscle sensor prosthetics. Well, the ones on the market haven't even been released yet. And ours can connect directly to the nervous system. From a commercial standpoint, I'd still say it's risky. The sensors need major upgrades. It should at least match the dexterity of a real hand. Send me the schematics later. Understood. After taking off the helmet, Renji turned to ask, how's progress on that exoskeleton project? Still in testing. And honestly, probably won't sell as a civilian product. Figured. I'll report back and recommend we keep it military only. Just as he said that, his phone buzzed. He took it out. Someone had messaged him online. He didn't have many contacts, Aunt Kaya, Shirogane Miyuki, Ishigami Yu, Ryuju Momo. And the most recent addition, Fujiwara Chika. Sure enough, it was her. Renji-kun, are you free this afternoon? As per our little wager, let's go on our date today. Come to Harajuku. Here's the address. She actually remembered? According to the terms set during the board game club incident, in addition to their funding being set to zero, Makohara Kazu had unilaterally decided that Fujiwara Chika would go on a date with him. Though that decision was made without Chika's input, she surprisingly followed through. But after spending some time around her, Renji suspected this date wasn't going to be what he expected. Still, reality exceeded even his low expectations. When he arrived by taxi at the meeting spot in Harajuku, he found Chika, dressed in fashionable street clothes. But also another girl. This girl looked like a younger version of Chika. With twin pink pigtails, she was clearly adorable. Renji-kun, let me introduce you. This is my little sister, Fujiwara Moa. She's in Shuchin's middle school. Hello, Renji-senpai. Moa gave a polite bow. Hi. After greeting her, Renji beckoned Chika over and whispered, eyes narrowing, so. This so-called date is two girls hanging out with one guy? Of course not. Then why is your sister here? I don't get it. Chika whistled innocently, avoiding eye contact. Come to think of it, Harajuku is full of shops girls love. You two probably planned to go shopping anyway and just dragged me along to carry your bags, didn't you? No way. I'd never do something so mean. Chika smiled sweetly. We just needed a gallant escort, that's all. So I'm your unpaid bodyguard. Feels like I lost that game of blackjack. Geez, you've got 3 cute girls with you today. That's a rare treat. If none of them included you, I might agree. And wait. 3? Aren't you and your sister just 2? Oh, she should be here soon. You know her too. I do? Just then, someone came jogging up. Long silver hair flowing behind her, black lace ribbon on her head, elegant features. Renji definitely recognized the girl. Sorry, Moa, Chika-senpai, I'm late. Shirogane bent over, catching her breath, then looked up. Surprised to see Renji. Renji, what are you doing here? So it's the president's little sister. I didn't know you and Fujiwara were friends. Yeah, I'm friends with Moa, so I got to know Chika-senpai too. K explained. Did Chika-senpai invite you here? Yeah. This evil woman tricked me. If it had just been the Fujiwara sisters, Renji would have ditched them without a second thought. But with Shirogane there, Miyuki's little sister, he couldn't just walk away. If anything happened, it'd be a huge problem. Chapter 63, have you been playing too many dress-up games? Hello? Hey, President. Takuman Renji picked up his phone and called Shirogane Miyuki. Your little sister is in my hands. Please don't sound like a kidnapper. Said Shirogane Miyuki over the phone with a tone of helplessness. So you ran into her? Yeah, here in Harajuku. She's with Secretary Fujiwara and her little sister. The original plan was for me to hang out with the secretary today. She told me. Said she was going out shopping with some classmates this Saturday. But since you're there, could I trouble you to look after? I get a bit uneasy with a middle schooler out on her own. Don't worry, I'll protect her. Thanks, I appreciate it. After ending the call with Shirogane, Takuman Renji sent out a few messages from his phone. Ahead of him, Chika Fujiwara was waving cheerfully. Renji-kun. Hurry up. I'm coming. The moment they stepped into the shopping mall, the 3 girls made a beeline for the clothing section. Takuman followed behind, keeping a close eye on Shirogane. He wasn't particularly interested in shopping. If it were a weapons expo, maybe he'd be more enthusiastic. Renji-kun, why are you just standing there? Oh, you girls go ahead and shop. I'll just watch from here. That won't do. Since we're out together, it's not right to just leave you out. Said Chika as she grabbed him by the hand and dragged him into the men's clothing area. They were in a trendy fashion section that sold both men's and women's wear. As Chika pulled him in, she gave his outfit a quick once-over. Tracksuit pants and a jacket. A very average look. How about you try picking out something? Guys your age care about how they look, right? Nope. I don't care. Don't you want to be more popular? Popularity doesn't concern me. Ugh. Chika looked a little troubled, but then she suddenly clapped her hands and grabbed a few pieces from the racks, shoving them into Renji's arms. Go try these on. Huh? Come on, you look bored just watching us. Let me pick something that suits you. She said brightly, clapping her hands. Fine, I'll go along with it. Renji didn't really mind. He wasn't picky about fashion. As long as it was safe on the battlefield and comfy in daily life, he didn't fuss. This was a pretty novel experience for him anyway. He took the clothes and headed into the fitting room. Not long after, he emerged. Light gray pants and a pure white shirt. Subtle, tonal coordination. With his delicate features and blonde hair, the outfit gave him a clean and sunny appearance. Looks amazing. Chica beamed at him like he was her masterpiece. If your expression weren't so sharp, it'd be even better. You still look kinda scary. Old habits. Can't really help it. Well then. Chica smiled and handed him another set of clothes. Try this combo next. Have you been playing too many dress-up games lately? He tried on several outfits one after another. Eventually, due to Renji's resistance, Chica had to stop, though she looked like she'd been having way too much fun. Planning to buy any of those outfits, Renji-kun? Not really. He replied. But you'd look so cool with just a little styling. Wearing those plain clothes is a waste of your handsome boy attributes. Don't go making up attributes I don't have. And what's wrong with dressing comfortably? Doesn't your family care about how you dress? Chica asked curiously. My family, huh? My mom used to buy me decent-looking clothes. My dad didn't care much. My grandma. When he mentioned his grandmother, a rare expression of fear appeared on Renji's face. Your grandma? What about her? Don't ask. I'd rather not remember. Oh, okay then. Since he didn't want to talk about it, Chica didn't push further. Come to think of it, you've been picking out clothes for me this whole time. Don't you want to buy something for yourself? I just enjoy the act of shopping itself. Chica giggled. Besides, this is a date, right? It's only fun if both people enjoy it. You just mean you've been having fun messing with me. Renji shifted his gaze toward Shirogane, who was off in the distance. She was holding a dress at the counter, staring at the price tag and muttering something. That's 500 newspapers. Hey, President's little sister. Planning to buy that? Renji turned and saw Takuman, who had already changed back into his usual clothes. No. I'll keep looking a bit longer. Alright. He watched as she hesitated and put the dress down. Renji glanced at the price tag. 2,500 yen. Not expensive by most standards, but even that seemed like a tough call for Takuman knew the Shirogane family's situation. Her father had no stable income, and both and her brother worked part-time jobs to make ends meet. Delivered newspapers. She earned a few tens of thousands of yen a month, but after helping with the household expenses, she was left with maybe 5,000 yen in pocket money. She was likely calculating how many newspapers she'd need to deliver to afford that dress. Thankfully, the Fujiwara sisters had been thoughtful enough not to drag her into the luxury section. Seeing her hesitate again and again, Renji instinctively reached for his wallet. But just then, a small hand gently pressed down on his. That's not a good idea. It was Moa Fujiwara, Chica's little sister, smiling sweetly as she stepped up to him. Shan has a lot of pride. If you do that, she'll probably get upset. Renji didn't say anything, but he withdrew his hand. Renji-senpai really cares about Shan, huh? The president asked me to look after her. And she did call me big brother, so I should at least treat her like a little sister. Chapter 64, Gaben's wealth has its reasons. Looks like Renji-senpai really does care about Shan. Of course. Takuman watched Shirogane still hesitating by the rack, his expression as calm as ever. More than anything, I'm concerned about the Shirogane family's financial situation. But it's obvious that both the president and his sister have strong pride. You have to tread carefully. Takuman-senpai's a really kind person. You're overthinking it. Moa followed Renji's gaze over to K and smiled faintly. K is really cute, you know. Super popular with both boys and girls in our class. She does remind me a bit of the president. By the way, you're the student council's treasurer, right? K is also the treasurer in her middle school's student council. What a coincidence. Moa's face lit up with a sweet smile. She works really hard and is very proud. She hates roundabout things. She's the kind of girl who's pure and untainted. I figured as much. In fact, she's the kind that makes you want to sully her from head to toe, lock her in a dungeon and spoil her forever. Renji silently turned his head and was greeted by Moa's innocent, beaming smile. Fujiwara's little sister. Just call me Moa. Moa, let me ask you something. Renji feigned casualness as he browsed the racks. If you could travel anywhere, where would you go? Tokyo Bay? Aokigahara Forest? Why those oddly specific places? You're Chica's little sister, so maybe Africa would be better. Still a weird pick. She smiled like nothing was wrong. What I said just now was only a joke. Oh, a joke. I felt like if I didn't clarify that, something really bad was going to happen. Your instincts are spot on. Seeing K still hesitating by the rack, Renji suddenly had an idea. He walked away from Moa and headed straight to the store manager. Hello, sir. Can I help? No time for that. I'll be asking the questions. He threw an arm around the manager's shoulder and led him aside. Speaking in a hushed voice, Renji asked, Hey, are there any discounts today? No special events today, so no sales. But if you're buying a lot, I can give you a bit of a discount. I just want a simple markdown. How much? 75% off. Are you joking? Do I look like I'm joking? Even Black Friday offers that much. Today isn't Black Friday. And this is Japan, not the US. Kid, you clearly don't know business. You know why Gaben is rich? Because he puts little green labels on everything. That's totally different. You're a stubborn one. So are you giving the discount or not? You're really putting me in a tough spot here. Seeing that the store manager still didn't intend to give in, Takuman Renji reached into his jacket and pulled out a thick wad of 10,000 yen bills, waving it in front of the manager. That bundle had to be worth at least 1,000,000 yen. Just for one day, okay? This is half of it. The manager still said nothing. After taking the cash, he tucked it into his chest pocket. Once the unspoken transaction was complete, the two of them turned around with matching smiles. The manager walked over to the counter, pulled out a sign that said 75% OFF, and placed it at the store entrance. Huh? Manager, there's a discount today? Fujiwara Chika exclaimed, startled. She had never heard anything about a sale. Oh, just for today. Looks like you're lucky. The manager said with a smile. Awesome. With the sale going on, the clothes, which were already reasonably priced, were now at shockingly low prices. Shirogane froze when she saw this, then turned around and picked up the clothes she had been eyeing but hesitating over earlier, bringing them to the counter to check out. Takuman-kun, since today's such a rare chance with the discount, don't you want to grab a few outfits? Fujiwara Chika asked. Oh, then just pick a few for me. Alrighty, I'll do it. Chika casually pulled a few pieces from the rack. The same ones she had tried on him earlier and found satisfactory. And handed them to Renji. After everyone paid for their items, Renji handed his chosen clothes to the manager. As the manager took the clothes, he felt something thick inside. A quick peek revealed another wad of bills. Without a change in expression, he quietly stashed them away, then packed up the clothes and handed the bag to Renji. Not a word about today. Don't worry. After a meaningful glance was exchanged, Renji nodded in satisfaction and left with the bag. Ah. We really got lucky today. Yeah. Shirogane and Fujiwara Chika walked side by side, completely unaware of Renji's behind-the-scenes antics. Only Moa, walking beside Renji, quietly asked, Takuman-senpai, did you say something to the manager just now? I just explained Gaben's business philosophy to him. And that's all. Really now? Moa didn't press further and simply smiled. You and Chen aren't that close yet, right? If you go out of your way for her but hide it, it's like you did nothing at all. I'm not the kind of person who cares how others see me. It's meaningless. Renji smiled. As for our relationship, her calling me big bro is enough. I always wanted a younger brother or sister. You're really a weird one. Then if I call you big bro too, will you be nice to me? That'd be too transactional. Hee hee. Oh, right, Takuman-kun. Fujiwara Chika suddenly turned around and called to Renji, pulling a ticket from her pocket and stuffing it into his hand. What's this? A movie ticket. We got it last week from a prize that arrived at home. I gave one to the president and one to Kaguya, and these are the last two. Chika smiled. Let's settle our bet tomorrow. Oh. The bet was for a date, and going to the movies together definitely qualified as one. Looks like Fujiwara Chika really planned to honor the bet. Chapter 65, A Chance Encounter. This is Point B. Target has appeared. Target is heading toward Point C. This is C parking lot. Target parked their bike and is walking toward the theater. My lady, please wait here. Understood. After ending the comms call, Shinomiya Kaguya stepped out of the car, dressed in a pure white dress. She had arrived at the cinema lobby. A person pretending to be a passerby casually walked past her and whispered, Target is closing in. Estimated encounter in 30 seconds. And just ahead of her, Shirogane Miyuki was walking this way. The moment he saw Kaguya, he paused slightly in surprise. Shinomiya? My, President, what a coincidence. Kaguya said with feigned surprise. Didn't expect to run into you here. Right? This is a pretty well-known theater in the area after all. Running into someone isn't too strange. Kaguya grinned. But that was a lie. This seemingly coincidental encounter was entirely premeditated. A few days ago, when Takuman Renji was absent from the student council office, Fujiwara Chika had handed the movie ticket vouchers to both Shirogane and Kaguya. Both of them had hoped the other would make the invitation. But in the end, neither did. So Shirogane picked a day without any council duties and decided to go alone. But Kaguya wasn't about to leave it at that. She used her resources to find out Shirogane's likely schedule, had people lying in wait at the theater, calculated the time he'd arrive, and then showed up herself to stage this chance encounter. Flawless execution. Kaguya had planned this cinema outing with Shirogane for quite some time. Even that ticket voucher Chika received from that so-called prize had actually been distributed through channels Kaguya arranged. Because she knew Chika would naturally share tickets with other student council members. After this series of elaborate maneuvers, Kaguya succeeded in accidentally meeting Shirogane at the theater. And since they had met, the two of them naturally walked in together. As they passed a cheerful high school girl on the phone, Kaguya whispered, "You can stand down now." Understood. The girl pretending to talk on the phone was none other than Hayasaka Ai, in casual clothes. As Kaguya's personal maid, Hayasaka had of course participated in this whole operation, helping to set up the encounter between her mistress and Shirogane. After getting the signal, Hayasaka exchanged tired greetings with a few other Shinomiya house servants stationed nearby and began to leave the theater. Seriously. Even on my day off I have to do stuff like this. Expressionless, she stretched and decided to wander around for a bit. Then she saw a familiar figure. One of them was Fujiwara Chika, from the neighboring Class 2B, someone she recognized. Chika was at the theater too. And seemed to be waiting for someone. Chika's here too? If she finds out about this with Kaguya and the president, things could get messy. I should steer her away. Just as she was about to go say hi, Chika suddenly started waving frantically at someone. She's meeting someone? Hayasaka looked in the direction Chika was waving. And her eyes went wide. Renji? Walking into the theater was none other than Takuman Renji. As soon as she saw him, Chika ran over. "You're right on time, Takuman-kun. But hey, why aren't you wearing the outfit I picked for you yesterday? I figured sportswear suited me better." "Huh? Didn't think you'd be such a stickler about that kind of thing." Chika laughed. "You brought the voucher from yesterday, right?" "Yeah." Renji pulled out the movie ticket she'd given him. From a distance, Hayasaka frowned as she watched them. She couldn't hear their conversation clearly, but... what are they talking about? Why is Chika here with Renji? And the voucher in Renji's hand? It looks just like the one Kaguya-sama is using. While still chatting with Chika, Renji suddenly paused and looked in Hayasaka's direction. She instinctively ducked behind something. Did he see me? Wait, why am I hiding? But Renji hadn't noticed Hayasaka. His gaze had gone past her. To where Shirogane Miyuki and Shinomiya Kaguya were standing at the ticket counter. "Not bad, President. You move fast." He smiled and pulled out his phone to send a message. Buzz. Just as he was about to redeem his voucher, Shirogane felt his phone vibrate. He looked at it. It was a line message from Takuman Renji. "President, impressive. You already scored the Shinomiya heiress?" "What?" Startled, Shirogane looked around but didn't see Renji anywhere. He quickly typed back. "Renji, you're at the theater?" "Yep. Just got here and saw you with Shinomiya. It was a coincidence, I swear." Sure. If you need anything, just hit me up. Chika's here too, by the way. I'll try to keep you two from running into each other. You're a lifesaver." Shirogane let out a breath of relief, handed his voucher to the clerk, and turned around. Only to find Kaguya wasn't behind him anymore. Where'd she go? He looked around and saw Kaguya frozen at a different counter, staring blankly. Oh no. Kaguya had always watched movies in her private theater at the mansion. She had never been to a public theater before. She had no idea how ticketing or seat selection worked. Damn it. Kaguya doesn't know what seat I picked. If she chooses at random, we won't be able to sit together. But if I tell her directly. Now imagine something dumb and dramatic. Did the president go out of his way to tell me where he's sitting because he wanted me to sit beside him? How adorable. End of mental dramatization. Absolutely not. I just ran into Shinomiya. If I go that far, it'll make it look like I wanted to sit with her or something. He did want that, actually. As Shirogane Miyuki was caught in this internal struggle, his eyes suddenly lit up. He pulled out his phone. Renji, you're still at the theater, right? Yeah, Shinomiya doesn't know how to buy tickets or pick seats. Figure out a way to let her know where I'm sitting. Why not just tell her directly? We're supposed to have just bumped into each other. I can't say it myself, Takuman Renji. He really couldn't understand what the president was thinking anymore. Still, since he had agreed to help, Renji would of course come up with a solution. Where are you sitting? G12, for the love refrain screening in 10 minutes, got it. Leave this to me, thanks a million. Renji put his phone away and said to Fujiwara Chika beside him, I'm heading to the ticket counter for a bit. I'll be back soon, wait here. Oh, okay. Without any hesitation, he jogged over to an empty ticket counter. Shirogane spotted him and gave him a look. Renji responded silently with an okay hand sign. At the farthest counter stood Shinomiya Kaguya, completely lost. She had already taken out her voucher, but was stuck at the seat selection screen. Kaguya wanted to sit next to Shire again. Going to see a romance movie alone, surrounded by couples and crying aunties, would make all her planning pointless. Renji, of course, had no idea what Kaguya was thinking. His job was simply to get her seated next to Shire again. "Hello, sir. Can I help you with something?" the ticket attendant asked politely. "Love refrain, the screening in 10 minutes. "Certainly. Which seat would you like?" The seat map popped up. Red meant taken, blue meant available. Renji pointed to G12, which Shirogane had booked. "See this G12? The seat next to it, G13. "You'd like G13? "No." Renji said. "I want every other seat booked except G13. "Pardon?" Chapter 66, Shut Up, Take the Money. Sir, what did you just say?" "I want every seat booked. Except G13. Is that a problem?" "No. It's just." The attendant looked a bit flustered. He was alone, yet he wanted to book over 100 seats. If it were a movie showing in a few hours, that might be normal. But this was 10 minutes away. And he clearly didn't have a group behind him. Some customers book first and refund later. Maybe Renji was just here to cause trouble? Renji glanced toward Shinomiya Kaguya. If she picked a random seat right now, the plan would completely fall apart. With that in mind, Renji quickly pulled out his wallet and slapped a black credit card down on the counter. "Shut up and take my money." "Ah. Yes, sir." Startled, the attendant hurriedly began processing the request. Every seat except G13 turned red on the screen. Marked as taken. After the card was swiped, Renji gave the president a hand signal from afar. "All done." Shirogane Miyuki? He had no idea what Renji had just done. Only that he picked a seat, paid, and walked off. Wait, did he buy all the seats around mine, then plan to swap a ticket with Kaguya? Isn't that too risky? Shirogane had assumed Renji would somehow discreetly let Kaguya know his location. Not. Whatever this was. Meanwhile, Shinomiya Kaguya was still staring at the seat selection screen, stuck in her dilemma. Let's assess the situation. My goal today is to sit beside the president during the movie. Maybe our hands touch, and I get to enjoy his flustered expression. But if I pick the wrong seat, I'll end up watching a romance movie alone. No way. Kaguya started analyzing the seat layout. If I were the president, what kind of seat would I pick? Ding. Suddenly, the screen changed. All the blue seats turned red. Except one. Only G13 remained blue, floating like an island in a red sea. I'm sorry, miss. The attendant said. It looks like someone just reserved all the seats while you were selecting. Only G13 is still available. Wait. If you'd prefer another time slot, there's another showing in 30 minutes. Another time slot? That means I won't even be in the same showing as the president. No. I'll take this one. Understood. She handed over the voucher and received a ticket in return. Kaguya stood frozen, clutching the ticket, feeling devastated. All this planning. Ruined just like that. Shinomiya, you got your ticket? Yeah. I got it. Where are you sitting? Kaguya pursed her lips and reluctantly handed over the ticket. Huh? G13? Shirogane was confused. That was right next to him. President. Where are you sitting? I'm in G12. Right beside you. He said with a forced laugh. What a coincidence. Eh? Kaguya's gloomy face suddenly lit up. The only seat left just so happened to be next to the president? What were the chances? Of course, she had no time to question it. She simply smiled brightly. Kaguya, today's my lucky day. Shirogane, just what did Renji do? Everything's handled. I didn't keep you waiting too long, did I? Not at all. Fujiwara Chika waved it off and smiled as she held up her voucher. Let's go exchange ours too. The next showing is in 10 minutes. All of their vouchers had come from Fujiwara Chika. So they were all for the same movie. Let's do the one in 30 minutes. I checked. Tickets for the one in 10 minutes are sold out. Really? I didn't expect the movie to be that popular. Who knows? Renji said it with a shrug, mainly to avoid running into Shirogane and Kaguya. They'd go in first while he and Chika stayed in the lobby, and by the time they were seated, the first pair would be finishing up. Of course, Renji wasn't lying either. The showing was sold out. The two of them walked to the counter and exchanged their vouchers for tickets to the later screening. The staff member who helped them was the same one Renji had earlier overwhelmed with his credit card. She opened her mouth to speak. Only for Renji to silently press a finger to his lips. SHH. The tickets are set. Chika-san, can you wait here a moment? I'll go buy popcorn and drinks. Ooh. Thanks a lot. As Renji walked away, Chika sat on a bench in the lobby. Huh? Isn't that Fujiwara-san? Oh? Hearing someone call her name, Chika looked up and saw a girl in a sweater waving with a smile. It was Hayasaka. Hayasaka. What a coincidence. Chika got up from the bench and jogged over to her. Wow, you're here for a movie too? Yeah. Hayasaka nodded thoughtfully, putting on a mildly troubled look. But I haven't decided what to watch yet. Did you already get your ticket, Fujiwara? The Love Refrain screening in half an hour. Got the ticket right here. Chika handed the ticket to Hayasaka to show her. Hayasaka's eyes narrowed as she noted the seat number. F17. So Renji must be in F16 or F18. You're watching it alone today? Nope. I'm here with Takuman-kun. Chika said cheerfully. You probably don't know him. He's Takuman Renji, a first year in the student council, handles the finances. Know him? I know him better than you do. Hayasaka's smile didn't waver for a moment. Then you two came here together. Aren't you worried people will say it's a date? Oh, but it is a date. Hayasaka's expression finally changed. You two are already dating? Even she wasn't sure how she felt when she asked that. All she knew was, it didn't feel good. How could that be? Fujiwara Chika laughed. It's just because I lost a bet, so we're hanging out today. I see. Upon hearing that, Hayasaka visibly let out a breath of relief. Chapter 67, sandwiched between the two then, Fujiwara, you stay here for now. I'll go get my ticket. Hayasaka smiled brightly. Okay. Fujiwara Chika didn't notice the subtle shift in Hayasaka's expression. Even now, she believed her friend didn't know Takuman Renji at all. Maybe hadn't even met him before. As soon as Hayasaka turned around, the cheerful look on her face disappeared, replaced with her usual calm and distant expression. She walked to the ticket counter and asked about the screening that would start in 30 minutes. When she saw the reserved seating map, her eyes narrowed in thought. Fujiwara's seat is F17, which means Renji must be next to her in either F16 or F18. F17 and F18 are marked red, while the others around them are still blue. That confirms it. Renji is sitting in F18. In that case, I'd like to book a ticket for that showing, seat F19. Of course. Thank you for your purchase. The staff member swiftly processed her ticket. Hayasaka took it and slipped it into her bag. Now all she had to do was wait for the movie to start. Takuman Renji had already bought popcorn and 2 drinks. He and Fujiwara Chika were now inside the screening room, waiting for the movie. The place wasn't even half full. It was a small romance film. No blockbuster hype, not many people even knew about it. Renji wasn't interested in love stories at all. If it were sci-fi, maybe he'd care. But small-budget romance movies didn't move him in the slightest. For most guys and girls, watching a movie together was just a way to spend time and maybe spark something more. But to Renji, he really was just here to watch a movie. Even if the person beside him was a drop-dead cute girl like Fujiwara Chika. Or a guy like Ishigami or Shirogane. As long as the movie was good, he didn't care. I miscalculated. You don't like this kind of movie, Takuman-kun? Something like that. Romance films just don't do it for me. I think this is a good opportunity to learn from experience. You could imitate the male lead's actions in real life. Chika grinned. Bringing ideas from fiction into reality rarely works. One of my brothers, Ishigami, has finished over 100 gal games, and he's still single. That's just a hopeless shut-in. It'd be a miracle if he got a girlfriend. Ishigami, who is clueless, got roasted for free. What a coincidence. A cheerful voice rang out next to them. Renji and Chika both turned to see Hayasaka walking toward them with a ticket in hand. Renji. His eyes widened in surprise. He definitely hadn't expected Hayasaka to show up here. Oh. Hayasaka. You bought a ticket for the same showing? Yup. Hayasaka waved the ticket in her hand and sat down in the empty seat right next to Renji. What a coincidence. Of course, it was no coincidence at all. She had deduced Renji's seat and booked the one right beside him. Wow, I didn't expect you to be sitting in the same row as us. I just happened to get a seat here. Now the seating arrangement was, Fujiwara Chika on one side, Renji in the middle, and Hayasaka on the other. Hayasaka, you probably haven't met Takuman-kun yet, right? He's. Oh, we've known each other for a long time. Hayasaka said with a smile. Isn't that right, Renji? Renji, yeah. We've known each other since 4 years ago. 4 years ago? That would have been when Hayasaka was still in middle school, right? Chika said in surprise. So you already knew each other back then? Yup. Hayasaka answered calmly. But her eyes were locked onto Chika's expression. I revealed that I've known Renji for a long time, even called him by name. But Chika didn't react oddly. Looks like they really aren't dating. Makes sense. Chika is super cute and popular, but she's rarely seen as a romantic target. Whoosh! The lights in the theater suddenly dimmed, and the large screen lit up with commercials. The movie was about to begin. Love Refrain was a small-budget romance film about a young couple navigating the ups and downs of love. Chika was very into romantic plots. She leaned forward as soon as the movie began, eyes glued to the screen, nodding her head repeatedly. As for Rinji, he wasn't drawn in at all. Bored, he took out his phone and started playing with it. Hayasaka, meanwhile, kept sneaking glances at Rinji as she watched the film. After her unexpected entrance and bold move of sitting beside him, he had shown little more than surprise. He had remained completely calm, which left her a bit disappointed. She was fairly confident that Rinji and Chika weren't dating. But whether she still had a chance was a whole different question. Feigning casual conversation, she said, "Hey, Chika, did you know? According to reports about this movie, there's a 50% chance that people who watch it together will become a couple afterward." Yeah. Really? That's what the report said. Hayasaka smiled and glanced subtly at Rinji. The comment seemed aimed at Chika, but was clearly meant for Rinji. She wanted to see how he would react. But before Rinji could say anything, 50% chance of becoming a couple just by watching a movie together. Then doesn't that mean me and Takuman-kun might actually become a couple? Hayasaka. No one asked you to say that out loud. Still playing with his phone, Rinji replied, probably just marketing hype. Just hear it and don't take it seriously. Why yeah, you're probably right. As time passed, the hour-long film reached its final act. In the last scene, the couple embraced in the sunset and kissed each other. Oh. Chika's eyes lit up. Clearly loving this scene, eyes glued to the screen. Hayasaka's cheeks turned slightly red, and she murmured, "I wonder what a kiss feels like." She turned her gaze to Rinji. "ZZ. You fell asleep?" Chapter 68, I remember the old days again. Ah. That movie was so good. It really was. Even though Takuman-kun fell asleep halfway through. As they exited the theater, Rinji was still yawning. What was emotionally moving to others merely served as a sleeping pill for him. Fujiwara Chika glanced at the time. It was already afternoon. Well then, I'll head home first. Our date ends here for today. She smiled. Let's hang out again sometime, okay? See you, Takuman-kun. And you too, Hayasaka-san. See you Monday. Bye-bye. Take care. Rinji waved goodbye to Fujiwara, then checked the time. He should be heading home too. He turned toward Hayasaka. Hayasaka was someone very skilled at putting on masks. She wore one expression around classmates, another around Shinomiya Kaguya. Nobody knew which was truly her. Hayasaka, I'm going to call a cab. Want me to take you home? No need to trouble yourself. I've got my own way back. She said with a wave of her hand. Though she really did want to ride home with Rinji, her current residence was the Shinomiya mansion in Tokyo. If she went back with him, her residence would be exposed. And that would make it obvious she was Kaguya's personal maid. Part of it was concern for Kaguya's safety, but more than that. She cast a subtle glance at Rinji's face. Hayasaka had long suspected his true identity. Maybe the son of the regional division head, or the grandson of someone in the Senate. He was an unbelievably powerful organization. Even a regional branch executive could put pressure on the Shinomiya head family. And on top of that, Rinji already had past conflict with them. So could she? Just a servant of the Shinomiya family. Really stand by his side? You're going home alone? Alright, I'll get going then. Wait. Just as Rinji was about to walk out of the theater, his wrist was suddenly grabbed by Hayasaka. He turned back. And was met with her beautiful, teary eyes, looking up at him pleadingly. Can you stay with me for a little while? What happens when someone who never wears a mask meets someone who always wears one? The answer is, instant defeat. Because someone who never wears a mask can't easily tell when the other person is wearing one. Hayasaka was incredibly good at pretending. Even though she had dropped most of her act around Rinji, out of habit, there were still traces of performance in her behavior. Something Rinji never doubted. Especially when it came to people close to him. The two were now sitting at a family restaurant not far from the movie theater, each with a drink in front of them. It's rare for you to invite me to a restaurant. We've never gone out together like this before. It's always been meeting in parks. Rinji said with a smile. Something happen? No, I just wanted to talk alone. I see. So what do you want to talk about? If it's about me, it might be boring. I haven't exactly had any grand, sweeping experiences these past few years. Since their farewell 4 years ago, Rinji had roamed various countries and battlefields. For him, those bullet-ridden days felt like peaceful normalcy. Habit, after all, becomes comfort. Meanwhile, Hayasaka's mind was rapidly analyzing. Sitting across from her was the boy she had rejected 4 years ago. Though that rejection had been for his safety, from everything he'd done since, it seemed like it was the Shinomiya family who needed protection. Now she faced 2 major problems: the disparity between their identities. He was someone she had rejected before. These 2 issues were the biggest walls between them. The second problem couldn't be tackled yet. Based on his behavior lately, he didn't seem to resent or avoid her. So for now, she focused on the first. Rinji. Yeah? Hayasaka rested her chin on her hand, nervously stirring her drink with a straw. Has your family ever said anything about the kind of girl you should date? Like insisting she be from a compatible background? Her cheeks flushed slightly as she asked. It felt too direct. And a little shameless, especially coming from someone who had turned him down before. My family? They've never interfered with who I date. Rinji didn't notice anything odd in her question. Leaning back in his chair, he thought aloud. Actually, it reminds me of something my dad said when I came to Japan 4 years ago. Flashback, Dad. What is it, son? What kind of girlfriend would you want me to have? Little Rinji looked up to see his dad giving him a look like he'd just heard something ridiculous. Maybe I didn't word that right. I mean, do you have any requirements for the girl I date? Like her background, personality, that kind of thing? No. I was just wondering when you got the idea that you could get a girlfriend. Huh? Be realistic, kid. With your IQ, landing a girlfriend is tough. That's a low blow. You want to know my standards for your future girlfriend? Honestly, I'd be burning incense out of gratitude if you found one. Alive. Female. That's all. His dad turned back to what he was doing but added as he worked, don't waste time on this nonsense. I didn't even have a girlfriend in my 20s. If you get one at 12, I'll admit. Maybe you inherited something from your grandpa. What was grandpa like? I'd rather not talk about it. In any case, I have no requirements. Whoever she is. If you can find one, I'm happy. That's what he told me back then. Looking back, I think he made some good points. I see. Hayasaka took another sip of her drink, feeling a small thrill in her chest. Looks like she'd gotten past the first obstacle. Now came the second. Perhaps the most important, the emotional wall between them. Chapter 69, Be careful not to let happiness slip away. I'm back, Ms. Kaguya. Welcome home, Hayasaka. Wait, you didn't come back with anyone? That's rare. It was a rare day off, Ms. Kaguya. Please go easy on me. Inside the Shinomiya estate, Hayasaka had changed into her maid outfit and was helping Kaguya tidy up her room. As she folded laundry, she noticed Kaguya still seemed lost in thought. Probably still thinking about the movie she had watched with Shirogane. How was the date with President Shirogane today? Huh? What date? We just happened to see a movie, that's all. Kaguya turned bright red. You planned a fake coincidence to see a movie together. That's clearly a date. Hayasaka's expression remained blank. Really now? If Miss Kaguya were just a bit more honest, none of this would be so complicated. Humphrey, as if I could ever like the president. But if he were to devote himself to me, then I might consider it. Hayasaka glanced at her lady, who was turning away in embarrassment, and twitched her brow. And that's why it's been a year with no progress. It's much more rewarding to be confessed to than to confess first. You probably wouldn't understand that feeling, Hayasaka. Fine. You experienced it 4 years before I did, after all. For the first time, Kaguya realized her status might actually be lower than her maid's. I'll go wash the clothes now. Wait. Just as Hayasaka was about to leave with the laundry, Kaguya tugged on her sleeve. What is it? Hayasaka. Kaguya asked shyly, blushing, do you have any tips or experience to share? I mean, you got a guy to confess to you, right? Did you use any secret tricks? No tricks. It just happened naturally. Eh? Really? There must have been something. I mean, even someone like Dakuman confessed to you. You must have done something amazing. Nope. But just as Kaguya was about to press further, Hayasaka turned and gave her a cold stare. Startled by the look, Kaguya shrank back. What is it? Are you mad? No. Hayasaka turned away, her voice calm. I don't think the way you do. If I could go back in time and confess now, I wouldn't hesitate. But does someone who rejected another person really have the right to confess to them again? That. Just a few hours earlier, Hayasaka had chatted with Rinji for quite a while at the family restaurant. He had stayed calm the entire time, acting like he had long forgotten her rejection. There was no resentment. But that nonchalance only made her more uneasy. She had tried multiple times to bring something up. But every time, The words caught in her throat. Everything she thought of saying felt like a cover-up. She knew things wouldn't change overnight. The only way to rebuild what was lost was by gradually making progress at school. At least, that was what she hoped. What Renji truly felt, she still couldn't say. If the president confessed to you, would you accept? I wouldn't say no, but if you worry too much about meaningless stuff, you'll end up letting happiness slip away. Hayasaka said, leaving the room. That's my experience. Since you asked for some. Monday, back to school as usual. During lunch break, Renji headed to the student council office. Inside, only Shirogane was there, busily organizing paperwork. President, how was your date yesterday? It was fine. Wait, no. It wasn't a date. Shirogane quickly corrected himself. It was just a coincidence. Nothing's happened yet. Oh. By the way, Renji. How did you switch Kaguya's ticket last time? Just a cheat trick. Sleight of hand. Renji replied vaguely. He didn't tell Shirogane that he had bought out every seat except the one next to him. Knowing Shirogane's personality, that would only make him feel more pressured. So how's your progress with Shinomiya? Well, there hasn't been much, honestly. She's a Shinomiya, after all. She's seen it all. Conquering her heart won't be easy. Renji sat on the couch, watching the still busy Shirogane. Still, it's impressive you'd put in so much effort for a girl you don't like. That's only natural. Shirogane always insisted he didn't like Kaguya. And Renji believed him, even though he was helping Shirogane constantly. To him, anyone who liked Kaguya Shinomiya must be crazy. And Shirogane was clearly smart, so he couldn't be one of those people. Conclusion, Shirogane didn't like Kaguya. That was that. The truth is, those who are a little broken tend to think everyone else is the weird one. Renji hadn't yet realized how far his worldview was from others. Renji, if you're free now, give me a hand. I can't handle all this alone. Sure, got a lot to do today? Yeah. The club budgets were all distributed. Any unused funds will be deducted from the next cycle, so now everyone's scrambling to spend what's left. All the stuff they bought got sent here to the student council. I see. Renji stepped forward and helped Shirogane sort through the pile of items. The student council's been getting busier and busier lately. Renji, do you have anyone you'd recommend? We could use another person to help out with miscellaneous tasks. A recommendation, huh? Takuman Renji thought for a moment. I actually do. His name's Ishigami Yu, part of the Go Home Club. He's got a lot of free time. Then ask him if he's willing to join the student council. Said Shirogane Miyuki. Besides the club matter, there's also the welcome party for the French exchange students next week. Seriously, why did everything have to pile up this week of all weeks? A French exchange student welcome party? Shouldn't we have been notified of that at least a month in advance? Exactly. I don't know why, but the principal only told me about it today. Shirogane said with a sigh. I see now. Huh? Shirogane watched as Renji put down his work, looking puzzled. You see what? Delayed intel from a key source. The principal bears the blame. I'll go drag him out and beat him up right now. Wait. Calm down. Chapter 70, your next line will be. After tidying up the items piled in the student council office, the remaining members, Shinomiya Kaguya and Fujiwara Chika, also arrived. The group now sat around the coffee table, faces serious. Next Monday, we'll be holding the welcome party for the French exchange students. A lot of students will be attending, so we need to plan, procure supplies, and appoint student representatives. It's going to be a lot of work. Shirogane clasped his hands in front of his mouth, speaking with a grim tone. Shuchin Academy had a sister school relationship with a high school in Paris. Every year, students would come for an exchange program. We don't have time during class hours, so planning and delegating tasks should be done at school. But as for procurement, that'll have to be handled over the weekend. Everything has to be ready and set up by Monday. Shinomiya Kaguya added, so we're extremely pressed for time. Of course we are. It was such short notice. Sighed Shirogane. Frankly, even with a month's time it'd be tight. And aside from preparing everything, as the student council president, he would obviously have to attend the welcome event. But Shirogane's French was frankly abysmal. With a month he might reach basic conversational level, but in a week? Not a chance. So, what are your thoughts? President. Renji raised his hand. Go ahead. How about we have the principal commit seppuku and hold a memorial service instead? We could say the school's hosting a funeral, then do a follow-up on the 7th day. That should push the welcome event back. Denied. Next idea. Shirogane could tell from Renji's tone that he was completely serious. Clearly, He was pissed the principal only passed along information now that should have come a month ago. I think, since we're short on time, we should keep the decorations simple. Kaguya raised her hand. Takuman-kun, since you're the treasurer, I'll leave the budget planning to you. Chika, can you handle coordinating with the volunteers? Ranji, no problem here. Fujiwara Chika, agreed. Kaguya nodded and continued, President, you'll handle overall coordination. I'll take care of the procurement. Makes sense. We're short on time, and the student council still has other responsibilities. Next. Knock knock knock. Before Shirogane could finish, someone knocked on the door of the student council office. All 4 members were present, so who was it? Come in. The door opened, and a beautiful woman with long blue hair walked in. Miss Sagra? Hello everyone. I'm just here to pass on a message from the principal. Then I'll be on my way. It was Sagra Kaya, the classical literature teacher for the second years. Everyone in the room except Renji was a second year, so they knew her. She glanced down and saw Renji sitting beside Shirogane, smiling. Renji,